On the road again. Just kidding. We're home. Hi, everybody. We're back from our first
half.
The seventh tour. I was going to say first. Like, remember the time I said it's episode 1 and you said, no, it's not.
That was a beautiful mistake you made. Yeah, no, we're finally back from our first half of the Poor Decisions tour.
Oh.
And as we're saying this, yesterday or 2 days ago, we released our second half. So we're going back out again, which
Everyone was like, do you have time to rest? I was like, wait till Monday. There's an Instagram post coming.
Well, I love when we are going back on the road with a tour we already feel comfortable with. That's fine.
That's true. It does make it a lot easier.
If it were a whole new tour where we had to do all new footage, we had to write a whole new show, and we had to that would have been obviously way too much. But it's a script that we pretty much have memorized at this point.
It's a lot less scary.
Yeah,
yes.
I'm totally happy to just not the tour is lovely. It's just the travel that's a lot. And so since we won't be traveling, I'm happy to take the break. It's a good enough break for me.
Yes, and we've had the best time. We also added through this last tour, had a bunch of book signings, so that was cool too, because we got kind of like the meet and greet aspect, and we got to stay like an extra day in a lot of cities because of that, so that was cool. But yes, we are back on the road, so go buy tickets. This will be a fun one because I feel like we have some really random spots in there this year.
The last few years are like, I feel like we went to more like the mainstream spots, which is what I was kind of expecting to happen this time around too. But our manager and our tour manager, our booking manager, they swear by these spots that we should give them a shot. So we're going.
Yeah. So if you want tickets, go to andthat'swhyyouDrink.com/live. We are very excited about it. We also have a lot of like merch up on I was just saying, I always forget to bring up merch on I don't know why I'm making this like a promo intro, but I don't know. I feel like there's important stuff we never talk about. So here's me attempting to say them. So anyway, go look at us on the internet.
Okay. I'll look at myself as well on the internet.
Good idea.
I do at least once a month, just a quick Googs.
You do? I do not. I Google you, not myself though. Real quick before we ask each other why we drink, which is the usual standard fare for the show, I wanted to point out also that because we're on Patreon and we do these like yappy hours after the episode, this time I brought some conversation cards for us.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, they're for relationships. And I did actually buy them for Blaze for Valentine's Day, and then we both got COVID. So
nice.
They're unopened.
I got
give them a test.
I got conversation starters, or maybe Allison got them for us. We got them at some point years ago, and then they just kind of sat on our like coffee table. We never touched them, but every now and then, like before we'd go to bed, it's like, oh, let's pull a card. And we've been together for so long that I feel like half the questions you already know the answers to. So I would be excited to learn more about you and me.
I don't know what's in these ones yet because Blaze and I have never opened them because we were like, well, Valentine's over. We're too busy.
I'm excited to maybe grow in our relationship. Maybe
me too.
Maybe we'll kiss at the end.
That would be. Now listen, this is the way to get our Patreon up and fucking on fire.
If you join us at our top tier, you'll get a video of me
a virtual
begging
kiss.
Christine for a kiss.
No, actually, they're getting that right now. I think.
You know what? I have a question for you because this was asked to me. If we were like in a show,
we are.
What
do you mean?
No, like in a TV show or something. If we got like booked as a special and we had to kiss, could you do it? I don't think I could kiss you.
It depends on what the stakes are.
I really don't think actually just thinking about it, I don't think I could do it. I think
I would probably have to be like obliterated.
Can I gay squeal afterwards? I can't even just thinking about it. I can't even do it.
That would have to be part of the script. Like it would have to be that we're so uncomfortable because it would be so obvious that it would have to be part of the story. Like otherwise, we can't pretend that well. We're not that good of actors.
No more than a peck. Anything else is like it's too much.
Oh, certainly not more. No, a peck is the farthest I think I could get with anything. Like
I'm literally like covered in sweat all of a sudden.
I feel like
why I even asked this.
The loose moose sweatshirt you got me is real sticky. All of a sudden I'm sweaty and hot.
First of all, it's lovely that you're wearing that sweatshirt. I didn't know if you still had that one.
Oh, of course. It's my cozy loose moose. How could I not?
That's can I talk about the loose moose real quick?
Always.
Okay, so we were driving through New England at one point, And you were driving, I think, with Lisa. So it was just Eva and me. Obviously, I follow all those websites with like the roadside attractions and things like that.
And the TikToks.
And I'd always heard about this one restaurant on the side of the highway in Connecticut, in like Union, Connecticut. I think it's called, I don't want to mess it up. Hang on a sec. It's basically a restaurant, but it's like a book restaurant.
I got it. The Traveler.
Yes.
Hold on. The Traveler Restaurant.
Yes.
Quote, the Food and Book People, Union, Connecticut. I'm so dumb. It was on my sweatshirt the whole time.
Well, okay, so I've always heard about this place, and apparently it's like a book-themed restaurant where it's like half a library or something, or when you go, you get like it's a book restaurant. I've always heard about it, and we just happened, I didn't even think of us driving past it, anything like that, but all of a sudden, Eva and I are in the car driving through Connecticut, and I see this massive sign that says like Traveler's Restaurant coming up, and I went, Eva, turn in now. I was like, I don't even care if we're late to wherever we're going. I know we have a show tonight. I don't care. Turn in. And we went in there. We ended up having like this really great lunch. The person who was our server or like who somehow is involved in owning the restaurant, like listens to our show and like was so like fangirling when she saw me and Eva. And all downstairs, there's a whole library. The whole top, there's books everywhere. And so I don't know the story behind the loose moose specifically. I think there was like, if Eva were here, she'd be able to tell you, but there was a moose outside at some point, like a statue of a moose.
Yeah, they said it was like the biggest moose or I don't know, it was talking about a moose. And then they said, over time, like it got famous.
Yeah, it became known as like the loose moose that was like in their front yard. And so they ended up making merch for the loose moose in the traveling restaurant. I'm totally butchering the story, but the whole point of what I wanted to say was that I was so excited that I stumbled upon something I'd been like waiting to find. I felt like a pirate finding treasure that I'd been looking for. It was wonderful.
And now I get to wear the treasure.
And yeah, so then we got Christina's sweatshirt. Eva has the red one. I have the green one, and we're like Alvin and the Chipmunks. Huey, Dewey, and Louie.
Except I just wasn't there.
Yeah, but in spirit you were.
Yeah, always. Why do you drink this weekend?
Girl, I drink because I'm so out of control sick. I think it's because I've been doing that thing where I like have not we've talked about this so many times, but I think part of my burnout is like physically letting my body just deteriorate. You know what I mean? And I've just been go for so long, and not even in like not just tour. I know people are gonna be like, oh, it's because of tour. Behind the scenes, I've got things going on lately. And everyone is fine currently, but everyone was not fine for a second. And I was dealing with that. And it's just been a lot of stuff. So I think I've just not let myself rest like mentally. Because even if I like was home relaxing, or if I was like, if it looked like on the outside I was just sitting on the couch and like resting, my mind was just in a million places. And so now that everything's kind of over with, the moment I got home for the holidays, my body just started breaking down. I just had like a really bad runny nose for a second. And I haven't had a cold in like 2.5 years.
Right.
And so I think this is like 2.5 years worth of like my immune system like breaking down. I don't know. I'm really going through it over here. So I brought several boxes of tissues. So sorry to our editor, Jack, for the amount of times you're going to have to cut today. And I also literally, this is so sick. I don't even want to say it out loud. I literally have a spittoon because I just have so much coming out of my head.
That's so hot.
Let's kiss.
Yeah, I changed my mind, by the way. My contract has got to be edited.
Yeah.
I need triple what they were paying me before.
I'm literally just like, thank God I'm on the other side of it now. Like Christine and I were supposed to record yesterday. The day before that, I was like in such a brain fog. I couldn't even do notes if I tried. So I'm better. I'm getting better. Tomorrow, I think I'll be totally good, but I'm racing the clock because in like 2 days, my friend from home, Deirdre, gets married. And so
no big deal.
I'm like desperately trying
Deirdre from like episode 6. She was like one of our first ever characters on the show. And now she's getting married, which is so crazy.
I know. And I'm in the middle of writing like a best person speech and all this. And so I'm trying to make sure my head is clear enough that I don't fuck this up. You've written so many
best person speeches just for yourself that I feel like this should be easy for you.
Well, this one is easy. Maybe we'll talk about it in
during our conversation starters?
During that. But I luckily I've got a good direction on that speech, but I just want to make sure it's good.
Oh my God, you could practice your speech in the Patreon Yappy Hour. We could all give you a little applause.
Thank you.
I was going to say feedback, but we don't do that. We just give claps.
Just criticism. We listen and we judge.
No, only positive, only good vibes.
Well, so the bad part is that I'm desperately sick, and also I came home early because my mom needed some help, health wise. She's okay now, but for a second we didn't know, so I came home early, and now like the best thing I can do for her health is like stay the fuck away from her. So it's been like its own mindfuck.
You with your spittoon.
Me and my spittoon. I'm like, can I help you, Bob? And she's like, get
I'm here
away
to
from
help.
me. But the good reason why I drink is I'm back on the East Coast, which means it's raining outside.
Oh yeah, honestly, your window looks like a transplant in my window right now because we're in the same hemisphere. Well, that's not right math or right geometry, or you know what I mean. It's fine. We're in the same space, sort of mentally and physically.
Certainly. Anyway, so I got to wake up to like it being dreary outside. Oh, I miss dreary. It really, actually, I think this is 50% of why I feel so much better today.
Better. You look better.
Yeah. Well, because I woke up and I was like, oh my God, it's snuggle season. Let's get into it.
Do you know how much I realize I love this, which I didn't know because I do get seasonal affective disorder, but I was like laying in bed this morning and I changed my sheets, by the way, big hot tip, folks. Flannel bedding is a game changer. Although if you have
the sweats.
Well, the sweats, but also shedding animals. It like collects hair.
No.
So every morning Blaze walks in with a little handheld vacuum and vacuums the comforter. No, so I put a quilt on top. So that has kind of fixed it. But I tell you what, I took a shower this morning, climbed back into my flannel bed, and then all three of my furry boys like just went around me because it's cold. I tell myself it's because they love me, but really it's because it's cold out. And I was like, this is a prime nap situation. I'm in a prime nap zone.
I feel like, sorry, my light fell. I've never actually thought about the fact that if you have fur, like the flannel is a problem. It never even occurred to me. Sorry, I'm trying to figure this out. There you go. But now that you say it, that plus the fact that I have a sweating problem, I feel like
it's not for you.
I feel like the flannel would I would just wake up in like a Bigfoot suit.
Yeah, to clarify, Blaze has a separate blanket that's for like
that makes sense.
Hot sleepers, and I'm just like, let me just bundle into my. Blaze used to call me HP, which stood for hot potato, because I would literally wrap myself in like heated blankets and just like lay there.
Precious.
And I was like, I want to be a hot potato, and he was like, okay, fucking weirdo. So anyway, HP. But yeah, so I still like to be all snuggly. But anyway, I feel you with your kind of dreary vibe.
Yeah, no, there's nothing I love more than a reason to not be productive. Yeah. And
I get it.
The rainy weather really does that to me. So anyway, that's the good reason I drink, bad reason I drink. Also, like one of my sinuses feels a little clogged, which I don't love, but it's because I've been blowing my nose so insanely hard.
I love this like check in, like, okay, let me check left sinus. All right.
Well, no, like this whole part right here feels really sore, and I've terrorized myself into thinking that there's like a snot clot or something stuck in my face.
I mean, I could easily get that out for you with a little massage, but it's fine.
I wish you were here to rub my face.
I would. I just actually learned a lymphatic drainage massage for my face because I also have so many sinus problems.
Anyway, those are all my reasons. Why do you drink, Christine?
Oh, there are countless reasons. Let me count the ways. This morning, right before we recorded, my father showed up at my doorstep again.
Oh my goodness, here we go with this.
With his annual calendars. I don't know if you know about this, but he sends calendars out to everybody in the world. And I'm talking, he buys like 40, 60, 80 of them. I don't know how many, just dozens of these things. And they're calendars with his photography on them. And he's been making them since I was like 8 or even younger maybe. And he's like a photographer. He likes to take photos. Not a once have I ever been in this calendar. It's just his photos of like rocks and like moss and like graffiti. And then he makes like this calendar and everybody gets it. And he puts everybody he knows birthday on it. Like, I'm not kidding. Like when he was with this one person, his partner, he would put their kids' birthdays on this thing. Like everybody's birthdays goes on this thing. And the first year he finally made like the comeback of the calendar and everything, I flipped up to June 4th.
You weren't on there?
I wasn't on there.
That's beautiful. That's certainly a poetry. You should tell your therapist.
My dead dog was on there, but I sure wasn't.
Oh.
my dad's partner's child was on there a few days later, but I wasn't. So anyway, and he said, well, I didn't put my own birthday on there either. And I said, okay, great. So now we're both just the sacrifices of your calendar. Like you and I don't get our birthdays. So anyway, now he does put my birthday on it. And he makes a point to show me every year, which was not the intended outcome of my many complaints.
Yeah. If anything, you just drew attention to it and now you have to hear more about it.
And as most people know, especially if you listen to Beach Too Sandy, where we did an episode called Reviews of Bernie's Mail, my mailing address, his mailing address is my house. And so all of this Vistaprint calendars got delivered to my house, these huge boxes. Anyway, he came by this morning and just decided to he's like, I'm going to the airport now. Anyway, here's some big news about many people in the world, in your life. And then he started to cry and then he left. And I went, okay, I have to go record with M now. So here I am. I'm out of sorts a little bit. I'm with you. My face hurts. My sinuses are swollen. My body aches, I'm tired and sweaty, and my flannel has cat hair on it. And also, fun fact, Leona met Scuba Santa yesterday, and this is the biggest news I have to bring to you. She went to the aquarium and met Scuba Santa, and when
was she just out of her mind excited?
She was not.
Care? Oh,
she did care. She cared, but she was very
hesitant.
Not hesitant at all. Just very like, what of it, you know?
Very Renata
about it. And she showed up and went and met Scuba Santa. And apparently when they were bringing her up, the staff, they said, what do you want for Christmas? She said, I don't know. And they said, well, what do you want to ask Santa? Do you want to ask him for a doll? And she said, no. And they said, what about a monster truck? And she said, I want a monster truck. And now all she talks about is how she asked Scuba Santa for a monster truck.
Funkle M is on the case. Don't even worry about it.
Don't even start with me. I shouldn't have even told you this because I had to because there's a certain one that's special and oh gosh. Anyway, I had to be very strategic about this and how to ship it to my house without. Anyway, so I'm in that boat now, which is very fun. And of course, we got a bunch of we can post a bunch of photos of Leona and Scuba Santa, which because Blaze paid for these stupid photos, and it was probably like outrageously expensive for a shitty plastic frame. I would request that we post it on Instagram so that at least we have some value for our monetary spend. Anyway, other than that, everything is falling apart, but we're here and people are listening and I'm really happy about that. And side note, sorry, now I'm feeling a little manic, but that's fine.
I love manic, Christine. Let me blow my nose really quick. Hold on. Keep the mania though. Look alive.
Okay. I'll keep the energy alive. Look alive. So I also wanted to add that, what was I going to say that was so manic? Now I don't remember.
I distracted you with my ways.
I know, with your wily ways.
Well, since I distract. Oh, okay, keep going.
Apparently, we are in with a new network that we really love called Q Code, and they're just very like kind and hands-on and have helped us a lot. But there have been a shift in ads, and I know some people have complained. I want to be like very clear though that because it doesn't probably seem like it when you listen to it, but we are doing the same amount of ads as before. They're just spread out differently because I guess they have a system where they are able to figure out like the least, and I know a lot of you are going to disagree right now, but the least annoying way to play ads because sometimes, in podcasts they're like bunched up like back to back to back to back. And yeah, you can like skip through like several minutes, but we're trying to spread them out a little more just to test it out to see if like, maybe like 60 seconds is like a more suitable break than like several 5 minutes, like a chunk of 5 minutes. So anyway, we're testing things out, but don't worry, like we didn't add more ads than before. They're just spread out, so they just have a different feel to them. And Em and I are doing them together now, so it feels like more fun, and they're probably a little longer because it's the two of us talking.
Yeah, sorry.
No, but I feel like they're more engaging and entertaining, hopefully, because of that. So just a heads up, and we are just, doing that because it's the way we keep the podcast rolling. But we didn't really shift anything big over here, so don't stress.
Yeah, thank you for the PSA, Christine.
Just a heads up, because I do know that fear of listening to something you've listened to for so long and then being like something's different, and I do know that fear very well. So don't worry, I hear you and I see you.
What was I gonna say? I was gonna say one last thing.
Oh, and my vape is broken.
Oh no!
Oh my god!
Oh, woe is Christine! Oh.
How will I fill my sinuses with this horrible vapor if I don't have a vape that works?
One of the worst parts about this is that I love me a candle, and I right now. Just can't light anything. I've been taking like 3 showers a day just to stand in the steam.
Theraflu sells shower tablets.
Oh,
or no, maybe it's Alka-Seltzer, but one of them sells shower tablets, and they're so nice. You put them on the floor of your shower, and it's like menthol, eucalyptus, whatever, and it like the steam. And it's
beautiful.
Really nice. If you like, Blaze and I used to just trade. We'd be like, get in the shower, here's a Theraflu tablet, and then we trade. They're really nice. So if you need some like, self-care.
I never had the Theraflu. I had like the normal like shower steamers, but I've never had like one for when you're sick.
I would try it. It's really nice because it does feel like you're getting extra like breathing
something. Yeah. Well, this is the first day where my ears are not clogged, my head is not foggy. Besides this one sinus thing, I'm actually like kind of scared about it. I have a friend who just had like a sinus surgery, so now I'm like in my head that I need sinus surgery.
Oh my God.
Other than this one thing and a dry cough, I'm like back to normal.
As a sinus
Christine, yeah. I was gonna say no. Christine heard me on the phone the other day, and I sounded like I said,
"Who
Pokemon.
Is this? Stop calling this number. How did you get this number?" And it's me, chocolate. And I said, "Oh shit, things have gone wrong."
That was exactly how.
That sound is what came out of him after that.
Yeah,
noise.
Just hacking it. I couldn't get a word in without hacking. It was disgusting.
All right, listen. Our show is literally called "And That's Why We Drink," and I usually prove that show title to be correct. And I love a good night of drinks, but I actually found something that really helps me feel great the next morning, which is called Z-Biotics. It's a pre-alcohol probiotic from the brand Z-Biotics. I cannot wait to tell you about it. Their probiotic was invented by a PhD scientist to tackle rough mornings after drinking. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. This is a proactive solution that wards off feeling miserable the next day instead of a reactive approach like drinking electrolytes or eating greasy food, which you can also do. It has been actually a really big help. I may or may not take it with me on tour because where do I drink the most? Well, one can guess. I kept hearing about pre-alcohol and wondered what it was actually like. Now that I've tried it, I get why everyone is talking about it. And with their GMO technology, Z-Biotics is continuing to invent probiotics that will help with everyday challenges of modern living.
Go to zbiotics.com/drink to learn more and get 15% off your first order when you use drink at checkout. Z-Biotics is backed with a 100% money back guarantee, so if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. Remember to head to zbiotics.com/drink and use code DRINK at checkout for 15% off. Thank you, Z-Biotics, for sponsoring this episode and our good times.
I mean, as somebody with a toddler, I literally doesn't faze me in the slightest. But yeah, I do get the self-conscious feeling, but I'm just glad you're feeling better. And I am an expert at sinus massage because I have chronic sinusitis, fun fact. And they swell up and they hurt like a bitch. And I can do a nice
right
little
under my eye.
So I'll send you the pressure points. There's pressure points that drain your sinuses by just gently pushing them to, I can do them now here, to here where where your brow bone meets. There's like a little notch in between. Do you feel the bone notch there? If you move
now I'll never unfeel it. Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. Now, if you press that, that's a pressure point. Then you can go along your eyebrows, your temples, and then underneath your sinuses. So like here, in the kind of hollows of your cheeks.
Hollows.
Like underneath. Do you feel how there's kind of like a little like tunnel up there? That's so yeah, you can kind of like massage and pressure it. And then over time, hopefully I'll send you the full thing, but it'll drain your sinuses. It's really nice.
Thank you.
We're so old.
What do you drink, Christine? I drink a lot of water.
Well, this is the first time I'm sitting down since I got home from tour. So this is what I discovered next to my spot: an empty wine bottle and an empty body armor.
Muzzle.
And guess what? A broken fucking vape. So you know what? I'm having a day. It's fine. I'm not drinking anything, but it's okay. And you're just drinking water?
I'm drinking bottles of water until I have to pee myself because I'm trying to. Yesterday was the first day I got my taste back, and I had 2 smoothies and they were delicious.
Hell yeah. Flush it out. Fluids.
Anyway,
I should be a doctor.
Yeah, I know.
Here, press the spot between your eyes. That'll fix it. Here, let me press it.
If you were here, I would just be forcing my head into your hands like I'm Geo wanting a pet.
I was gonna say, wow, that sounds weirdly familiar. Oh, right, because it happened 5 minutes ago today.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do give him little puppy massages too.
I could go for a puppy right now. Well, that'd be lovely. Yeah, get me right. What is the Reiki for right under this, right here?
Well, I know the acupressure, but I can't.
Perfect.
Can't do it from here.
Can you Reiki me a hug? That'd be nice.
Absolutely. I'll do it right now.
Thank you. Yeah, I could really go for a puppy. Actually, while we're talking about
puppy,
that would do me a lot of healing.
I'm just kind of eyeing Geo. Like, how many stamps would that take?
I would pay it overnight, babe. That's all.
Okay, I'm in. It's a deal.
Okay, one last nose blow before I tell you my story. The inaugural
one last nose blow before I go. Oh, one last nose blow before I go. Time to tell you a story. Oh.
What's the story, Wishbone? Okay.
Oh.
That's what it sounded like. Was that not what you were mimicking?
Inspector Gadget.
Okay.
No, I said one last blow before I go. You have to know You have to tell me you know what I'm trying to emulate.
Wake me up before you go?
Yes, thank you. Phew.
Okay. Everyone, buckle up. Also, appreciate your nasal cavity if it is unclogged, because, man, I really took her for granted.
Oh, man.
Let's take a big old breath through your nose.
I feel like Em's learning about all the sinus problems that we've all had for decades, and Em's like, wait a minute. Welcome to my
don't get sickle up when I do.
Face.
It's a real monster.
Hold on, let me throw a pretzel at Gio and find my blanket. God, we're so it's like things change because we're old and we get more aches and pains now, but like things also don't change where I accidentally unplug my mic, throw a pretzel at Gio, and then drop my blanket and spill all the books off my shelf. Things are still the same.
It's at 32 to be sitting in the same room I sat in when I was 4. It's like, oh, nothing's changed. And then also, as I get out of the bed having that thought, I go,
yeah. Ugh! Then you creak. You're like, what's that creaking sound? Oh, it's my body. Got it.
It's my own back. Yeah. Well, when I was in Seattle recently, I bent down to grab something and my aunt heard me go, ugh.
Yeah.
And she was like, if you're old now, then like, what does that make me?
My mom gets very concerned. She's like, I don't like that you do that. And I'm like, well, I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you. And she's like, please stop, because you're like, don't act like you're old and frail. And I was like, I am. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, it's not good. Anyway, this is a story for you that I don't know how I should have thought this through, but we're just gonna wing it.
All right, we've got gadgets and toys all aplenty, but you know what most people really want for the holidays is to spend time with those they love. And that's why I think the best gift you can give, besides like the presence of yourself, is an Aura digital picture frame. And Em, I think your family probably has these. I know my family has them. Mm-hmm. We love this bad boy.
When I can't be near my mom, I just gave her a frame of about with 1,000 pictures of me in it, and that seems to keep her quiet. I don't get as many phone calls, which is lovely.
She just talks to the picture of you. You can preload it with pictures, so it's really fun because they just plug it in and it's like immediately like her granddaughter's there, and it's just such a fun invention.
Named the #1 digital photo frame by Wirecutter, Aura frames are incredibly smart and easy to use, allowing you to upload unlimited photos and videos directly from your phone to the frame. Plus, you can order the frame online and preload it with photos like Christine just said. It's also easy to set up. It takes about 2 minutes to set up a frame using the Aura app, and you get free unlimited storage. You add unlimited photos and videos and invite as many people as you want to a frame. There are absolutely no hidden fees or subscriptions.
Save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $35 off Aura's best-selling Carver matte frames by using promo code DRINK at checkout. That's AURAframes.com, promo code DRINK.
This is called the Adobe Deli, which it's also called the Lewis Flats School.
Oh,
so there's two
like opposite things.
Yes.
Like, where do you go to school? Oh, at the deli. What?
Oh.
Where are you getting Where are you getting a sandwich? Oh, at school. What?
Yeah, like if only they went hand in hand like that.
Mm-hmm.
Today it is the Adobe Deli. So actually, let me look up the full name of it because I know it's got a longer name.
It's a catchy name though, the Adobe Deli.
The Adobe Deli restaurant. Okay, it's the Adobe Deli. Great. So this is in Deming, New Mexico, and it was originally the Lewis Flats Elementary School, which is why it's called Lewis Flats School.
I see.
But it has turned into a steakhouse saloon.
Ooh la la.
It only gets better.
I always wished my elementary school would turn into a steakhouse saloon, but it just it never materialized. Maybe it's because we were in an old chapel.
I always wanted to leave my school to go to a steakhouse saloon.
Wouldn't that be nice?
I would have certainly paid more or less attention if I also had a steak in front of me.
More or less. You know what? That is a good pitch to the school board. It would either help or hinder our learning and education.
There's a 50% chance you would get exactly what you want or nothing.
I would argue it's not quite 50-50. It's probably like 99-1.
That's a good point.
Well,
I will say we had a great cafeteria system or lunch system at my school where like we didn't actually have a lunch period. We had like basically like a little restaurant in our school.
Wait, what? Like an actual deli?
Oh, look at that.
I don't know. That's what it sounds like you're explaining.
I can't believe I had the nerve to say I was jealous when I had it.
What the fuck? You had a restaurant in your school?
I mean, like restaurants, like a very lax. Like the faculty kitchen was open and they would have a caterer come in.
Oh.
And it wasn't like a fancy caterer. It was like they would bring in like pizza slices and stuff.
Isn't that like what normal schools do?
Well, so instead of having a lunch period, you would just order whatever you wanted, whenever you wanted, multiple times a day if you wanted, and you just brought it to class with you.
Oh, wait, so you didn't have a lunch period? I feel like that's illegal.
No, I think because I was at a college prep school and they wanted to teach us like time management, they were like, okay, well, like at college, you would have to pick your own time when you're going to eat.
Yeah, but at college, my professor was like, don't bring pizza into my fucking classroom.
Well, so there was a lot of times in school that I was eating while I was learning.
Man, we were absolutely not. One time I had a lollipop upstairs and I had to vacuum the third floor for the rest of the afternoon in detention.
Oh, really? No, they had like a smoothie station and pizza station. They had a sandwich station.
Yeah, no, certainly not.
So anyway, I can't believe I had the nerve to be like, I wonder how it would make me perform when I know how it would make me perform. Yeah,
and it was
exactly
very bad.
B average.
Right? It was pretty straight down the middle.
Yeah, 3.0.
Yeah.
So anyway, this place was a school. Then it became a steakhouse and saloon. So in 1977, that's when the school closed and it went up for auction. And in 1978, it was opened up by this guy named Van Jacobson, which anyone named Van, I immediately think you've got a story.
Very weird that you say that because my dad literally came over to talk about his friend Van this morning.
See?
I'm telling you, I had to get his calendar ready. I had to get Van's calendar ready. And he does, by the way, he sure does have a story. And I'll tell you that another time because it's not my place to say here, but he's a character.
I've never met a Van, period. But also I've never...
Wow, I was like, how is this going to end? Oh.
But I've never met a Van who didn't have an interesting story. I feel like it's...
I got to tell you about mine later. Yeah, because I've known him since I was a kid.
Well, so this is where I tell you a sidebar, kind of like our first derailment of the story. Because when I say the school closed in 1977, there are a lot of sources that I read that would mention different parts of the school's history, but the school was actually at like 3 to 6 different locations. In one newspaper article, it said 3 locations. A different source said like it was the 6th iteration of the school. So the school was like all over the place. So whenever if you're looking up this location later and you're looking at the history of the school, it might not have been at this actual location. It's just it could have been at a different building. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, yeah. So, but it just closed as an establishment, basically, even if it wasn't the same location. Okay, got it.
The school that closed that then became the actual restaurant was the last iteration of the school.
Oh, I see. Okay.
But before that, there was like 5 there was like 5-ish other locations.
Gotcha. Okay.
So when they say like, oh yeah, and the school used to do this, it's like, well, I don't know if that was at this site or at a different property.
Okay.
I only mentioned that because then I started digging into the school's history because I was trying to figure out what time period this building opened as the school because there's so many locations. I was trying to figure out when this one opened.
Right.
I figured out the answer, by the way, which is that this building I'm talking about was the school from 1957 to 1977, so an exact 20 years.
Okay.
But on my journey of research, I learned that the building prior to this was a 2-room schoolhouse, which you know I love.
No, you love a 1-room schoolhouse. You can't trick me.
I love a 1-room more, but a 2-room, I'm still intrigued, especially because there were up to 40 kids in 8 different grades.
And the other room was just the faculty diner where you could go.
It's just the cafeteria where there isn't a lunch period.
Wow. That's our college prep.
This school had outhouses for bathrooms, wood stoves for heat, a windmill for water, and it had a rattlesnake problem where the kids' fathers would come out each morning to the snakes because it was like the 1930s. And so that was their only option, or so they thought.
No Orkin man.
No working man. But yeah, can you imagine a school full of children and rattlesnakes?
Yes, I can. And I am. And it's really an upsetting visual.
Imagine an episode of Abbott Elementary where there's
it feels like an episode of Abbott Elementary, though.
A rattlesnake infestation.
The snake problem. Somebody accidentally brought us, and they're going to bring like some weird guy in to fix the snake problem. And one gets in the ceiling. Listen, we could write scripts for days on this.
There were 2 teachers in this school who also served as the principal, the fire builder, and the custodian.
Fire builder for fires to warm them.
Yeah,
I thought you were meant like a firefighter, and I went, okay, no. Dwight Schrute, volunteer.
Well, I'm sure if the fire building didn't go well, they also had to shapeshift into a firefighter.
Yeah.
But yeah, one of my favorite things about touring 1-room schoolhouses is that all the teachers were also fire builders, and they'd have to come in early, or a lot of them lived at the school and they would have to wake up early and like stoke.
Where do they live if there's 1 one?
I think one of them that I went to literally had like a Murphy bed,
like a lofted.
Like literally lived in the room. Or a lot of people, they'll have like a shed outside that's kind of
like
their
welcome to my house
home base. I know, yeah. MTV
I'll teach
Cribs.
you about arithmetic now.
Hello, children and snakes. Come on in.
Yeah. Hold on. Don't look out the window. Your dad's beheading another rattler. Just stay seated and let me put my bed away. What the fuck kind of school is this? It sounds like the school M went to.
So not only were they the principal, the fire builder, and the custodian, but the kids also helped with the janitorial work, which is another thing I've learned on my tours at 1-room schoolhouses, is that instead of recess, it would basically be like, okay, now chore time, where like you're going to help me. Like,
okay, but like to be fair, they just got to watch a massacre of rattlesnakes every morning. So it's like, you know what? You got your entertainment. Okay. Yeah. It's time for it to get buckled down and get to work. Okay?
Education and a show. Now put some elbow into it.
Yeah. Let's move it.
Apparently, one of the teachers was interviewed and said, "Oh yeah, I remember back then the kids would bring lunch in tin cans," which my prep school would have rolled over if they heard about that.
A tin can. It would have been like a, I don't know, some sort of like newfangled
a Stanley lunchbox or some shit.
Stanley thermos. Yeah.
Apparently, when the school transferred buildings to this one, the one that I'm talking about today, the kids were the ones who moved all the furniture in, which. I love that this child labor is...
they gave 0 shits back then, man.
No. And then the last thing I'll say before I get back to our regular programming is when I was looking up this school and like all the newspaper articles, they said something that took me off guard, which was one article was talking about rural 1930s school learning. They were talking about, the kids are gonna go to Lewis Flat School to learn all about the 3 R's. I was like, what the fuck are the 3 R's? So I wanted to offer you.
Oh yeah. What do you think?
1930s education. What were the 3 R's?
Racism.
Okay.
Racism and racism. No, okay. Let me think. Respect, rat catching, and
rattlesnake catching,
rattlesnake murdering, rattlesnake wrangling.
I mean, I literally, my first thought was like reduce, reuse, recycle.
Duh. That's like the obvious one I should have thought of.
But I was I don't think they were doing that in the 30s. So apparently, this was like a phrase from like the early 19th century where it was talking about reading, writing, arithmetic, because there was an R in each of them.
Oh, so they'd say reading, writing, arithmetic. Yeah,
I
yeah.
guess so.
I've heard that. But beginning of was it 19th century or 20? Like beginning of the 1900s or beginning of the 1800s?
Early 19th century, so 1800s, I
Oh,
guess.
1800s. Got it. Arithmetic. I mean, it's very clever. Like it's funny because it's like, oh, we clearly haven't learned it yet.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah.
arithmetic.
Reading, writing, arithmetic. So anyway, those are the 3 R's. Fun fact if you want
Very
to
clever.
tell your kid what to go learn.
Here's a fun fact about me. My insomnia is back with a vengeance, and that is why I cannot live without Calm. Calm helps me with my sleep, my anxiety, my stress, meditations. They have sleep stories and breathing exercises. I love using Calm. It's my go-to app.
Each person faces unique challenges in their daily lives, and mental health isn't about a cookie-cutter approach. That's why Calm offers a wide range of content and programs to help you navigate life's ups and downs.
These include meditations to help you work through anxiety and stress, boost your focus, build healthier habits, take care of your physical well-being. I'm partial to the sleep stories and sleep meditations. That's always my go-to, especially with my little Bluetooth sleep mask. I just listen to calm sleep stories. And they have calming music that helps you to fall asleep naturally. They even have grounding exercises, which I recently discovered because my therapist told me I needed to. And if you're feeling overwhelmed or detached, it's like a really cool thing to open up and kind of like get back in your body.
Plus, Calm puts the tools you need right in your pocket and can help you dedicate just a few minutes each day to live a happier, healthier life. Stress less, sleep more, and live better with Calm. For listeners of our show, Calm is offering an exclusive offer at 40% off a Calm premium subscription at calm.com/drink.
Go to calm.com/drink for 40% off unlimited access to Calm's entire library. That's calm.com/drink.
So, okay, 1957. Now, the building I'm talking about for the rest of the show, that building opened as the last iteration of the Lewis Flats Elementary School. It closed in 1977. Like I said earlier, the next year, it ended up getting bought by Van Jacobson.
Okay.
And it became the Adobe Deli. So one of the things that this restaurant is known for is
what city are we
in? It's in New Mexico. It's in
New Mexico.
Deming, New Mexico.
Deming.
One of the things that this restaurant is known for is its ambience or wall decor, because they have a lot of bric-a-brac all over the walls.
Bric-a-brac!
You know I love a bric-a-brac. There's a lot of signs and weird trophies and awards and posters and taxidermy and Old West shit and...
Oh, and you know so much dust.
So much dust. Oh my God. Every time I go into one of those places, I'm like, I feel like this is a health code violation for sure.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm going to order a Pepsi and just kind of
and cover my drink.
Hand over it. Yes, exactly.
Like, can I blow into the cup first to make sure?
Oh, yeah, you gotta.
Because as kitschy as it is, I love kitsch, but
a cobweb and a food don't go together. Yeah.
Yeah, but I know that there's something going on here. There's at least a spider near me.
Oh, at least.
This place also literally has its own trolley car in there. Like
that's kick-ass.
Van Jacobson really collects everything and puts it all in this
spaghetti
restaurant.
warehouse vibes. Not that I've ever been inside one before,
but they sound like they make sense together.
Okay.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's actually a review on TripAdvisor that says that lists some of the things that are in this restaurant.
Let me play the Beach She's Sandy music.
Okay. A large collection of mounted animal specimens that were won at an auction and reportedly owned by a cartel boss. An outhouse that has bullet holes from a gunfight involving Billy the Kid.
Wow.
A wood box from the OK Corral. A flag with 48 stars. An 1892 post office, which...
Wait, what?
Like a whole post office is in there? Okay. The most beautiful wood-burning stove with pyrite instead of glass along the top of the stove. And a stuffed 12 to 15-foot alligator.
This is like what I want my house to be like. Just like bric-a-brac. Interesting.
Just like
retro, vintage.
We had a restaurant like that in Fredericksburg when I was a kid called Spanky's. Oh my God, it was the best. They had like statues of like Spider-Man on the ceiling, so it looked like he was crawling over you, and like bicycles. Wow. And
is it still open?
No, it's been closed for a long
What
time.
happened to all this stuff in there?
Great question, because I would, to this day, I think about that Spider-Man.
I wonder where he is.
Anyway, they would have gotten along. Maybe it's at Van Jacobson's place.
It could be.
Fun fact for people who care, the menu has Boar's Head products, which I love.
They just had a recall though.
I know. And so did
I
cucumbers.
I almost texted you. Oh no, our other favorite.
Well, I love cucumbers on my Boar's Head products, so I was having a real problem that day.
Woof.
But usually I'm a boar's head girly. So
I do know that about you. You did eat that the morning of my wedding as we all got dressed with the photographer. Yeah.
Sure did. The menu also has a steak that takes 2 servers just to bring out.
Oh, to carry it? Oh
to
my
carry
god.
it.
Oh my god.
And on the menu, one of the options is Bigfoot, and it's sold at market value.
Hello?
I couldn't tell you.
That's
I don't know if
fucking
it's
fantastic.
I would order it out of curiosity, but I don't know if it's like a gag.
I know, like, is that just like a big steak, or like, are you gonna pretend? Are you gonna play along and be like, it's cut a nice prime rib of Bigfoot?
Or like, do they sell you like a slipper, like a Bigfoot? You know?
Oh, I was like, pardon? Okay, I see. Yeah, I guess we'll have to find out.
And then here's a quote about the bar. The bar has over 200 whiskeys and bourbons, 400 tequilas, and one of the largest selections of scotch in America. So,
Jesus. Wow. So they're not even just talking the talk. They are like delivering on the product too. That's interesting.
They're going for it. So anyway, that's a little information on the Adobe Deli restaurant. Shockingly, very little to find about this place. But as for the ghosts, the reasons why there might be ghosts there is because, first of all, the area that the restaurant is in has a lot of minerals containing quartz. So that's one of the thoughts, is that it might just be energy heavy. Also, this area was a World War I training camp, which later became a tuberculosis sanatorium.
Oh, my lordy. Okay, that's a double whammy.
Well, triple whammy, because then after it was abandoned, it became used allegedly for devil worship. And so it became like one of those local hotspots for teens.
Right, because it's a tuberculosis hospital. And what could that use? A pentagram.
So all the Satanists are going there.
Wow.
So that's 3 reasons, I guess, in one location. Also, this area was a heavily indigenous space, which I am aware of the controversy there, but we will get. It's important to mention because of something that happens later. But it's a heavily indigenous space, so the argument is that there's a lot of energy there from that history, although I don't often like to totally mention that, because then it implies that, like, the stereotype that they're mystical and supernatural and causing a curse on everybody, and that's just not my jam. But it is important to mention it, and you'll see why in a second. So as for this actual restaurant, there has been 1 death here, which was in the 1980s, and a guy during like an event that was being hosted here. The guy had a heart attack mid-dance and just literally danced till he dropped.
Oh my lord. I was trying to think of like all the ways you could die with all that bric-a-brac, but it wasn't even a falling Spider-Man or anything.
It was nothing like that, unfortunately. Wow. It was just partying too hard.
That's like in Mouse Hunt, my least favorite movie of all time.
Now that is a obscure reference.
Yeah, well, yeah. That's what I'm here for.
You know what movie I loved, and now as I get older, I go, ooh, was Fievel Goes West.
Can't stand it. Scared the absolute shit out of me. Made me so traumatized. That fucking mouse movie, A Tale of a Mouse, or whatever the fuck. I didn't sleep for weeks.
An American Tale.
I used to lay there and just like shake. I was so scared. That movie fucked me up so bad. I will never forgive it.
I watched it. He was the one. That was the one about Nazis, right? Like
Yes, he's like a Holocaust survivor, and then he loses his parents, and it's like devastating. And I watched it when I was like 4 or 5.
I watched it way too often as a kid.
Way too early and young and often.
I watched it way too often in like kindergarten. Like it was one that they would play all the time right before nap time.
Yep.
And I remember watching it later as an adult, and I was like, this is about fucking Nazis. And I was like, how the media literacy was not there for me when I was a kid.
I definitely clicked that very quickly as a kid, probably because of,
because you're a little German child.
Family history. But I was like, I know what's happening here. And I really, my mom was so pissed because my dad had taken us to like some dinner party or something, and like all the kids went in the basement and watched that movie, and I was probably like 4, and she said I came home just like shaking, like I don't anyway, that movie fucked me up big time. But
well, you would think as a Jew, my ancestors would have been like, pay attention to this now.
Well, it sounds like you. Well, I was gonna say it sounds like you did, and then I went, actually, no, it does not.
Yeah, it sounds like I watched it.
It sounds like you enjoyed it, which like wasn't the point. That your ancestors were like, well, not for fun.
In one ear and out the other, totally.
Yeah, and they're like, look at Christine, she's traumatized as she should be.
Yeah, well, I guess between the two of us, maybe they were like,
if anyone needed the trauma, I guess it was me. Yeah, generationally, it was my turn to take some of that on. Maybe
I just remember watching it and just being like, this is great, and then watching it later and going, oh my god,
this fucking mouse is what's up. He is just having. Look at that floppy newsboy hat. I love it. He's fucking nailing it with that tweed outfit.
I think I just saw him as like going on an adventure. I must have been like playing with Legos while it was in the background or something. But
I wish you were probably eating your fucking pizza from the deli, and I had to be starved in my seat at a real school watching.
Probably so.
Oh my god, it was fucked me up.
Whether you're looking for a bit of special sparkle for yourself or to give the best Christmas gift of all time to either your, as Christine just said, lover, sexy mailman, to
family.
your family members.
Options. Family, your lover, or your sexy mailman. And if your sexy mailman needs a little sparkle, I got the place for you. It's called Blue Nile.
Blue Nile offers some of the highest quality standards in the industry at prices significantly below traditional retail.
Maybe you're thinking of finally springing for that beautiful piece you've always wanted, or maybe you're just thinking of what everyday piece will make the most impact on your outfits in 2025.
If you have questions about what to get, Blue Nile's jewelry experts are on hand 24/7 via phone or chat, and from technical questions to budget suggestions, they're here to make you feel confident about every purchase.
You also get 30-day returns and a diamond price match guarantee. And seriously, you cannot beat the ease and convenience of shopping Blue Nile or their selection. It's an absolutely gorgeous collection. You know, they've got thousands of independently graded diamonds for you to sift through. Take your time, take a look. It's beautiful. I gravitate toward the kind of the simple necklaces, but I don't know what you and your sexy mailman listen to or want to get involved in. It's none of my business.
Send them a letter and ask. Go to BlueNile.com to shop Blue Nile, the original online jeweler since 1999. That's BlueNile.com, BlueNile.com.
I'm like, man, I'm so paranoid about Leona now. I'm like, not paranoid, but I'm so cautious because something was playing the other day and I was like, I think it was just Toy Story. And I was like, I don't want her to watch this. And Blaze is like, it's Toy Story. And I was like, but it's scary. Wait till she's like 6. I don't know. But I'm also such a baby.
You just got to go into it knowing that something eventually is going to fuck her up.
I mean, I just don't want it to be on
the count.
The count. See, I wasn't there. So at least when she was traumatized by Count Von Count, I was not part of the process. And then afterward, I was like, okay, let's deal with this. And she's like, I just want to watch the Count all day now and face my fears. And I was like, okay,
that's fucking badass little girl.
I can handle that. Yeah, but
did she really say that?
Oh, so the Count came up on a show, and I was like, click thumbnail later, and she goes, go back to the left. And I went, she knows left and right now all of a sudden. She goes, go back to the left. I went back to the left, and I was like, oh, honey, yeah, we don't have to watch this one. She's like, click it. And I was like, oh my Lord.
She's like a little Wednesday Addams.
No, it's so bad because I'm like, oh no, she's like wanting to like get scared, which is like
torture porn for a 4-year-old.
Yeah. She's like, I want to watch it. I was like, oh, this feels like me watching crime shows at 2 a.m. Like, just
it is her crime
episode.
Show. It's like, I want to watch this dirty little Dracula. I want to
watch
him fucking count.
I want to figure him out.
Count his days. Yeah,
he's better count. His days are numbered. You know what I mean?
Anyway, hang on, I gotta blow my nose again.
Sorry, I just basically, and blows her nose. I just wanted to say how traumatized I am by everything in this world. And if you were also traumatized because you're a very, very sensitive young child, then I feel you. Leona apparently is not one of them, but I was.
No, Leona seems like someone who's gonna run into a wall and then run into it again just to make sure that she really felt it.
Literally with you by her side. Yes, correct.
So while okay, sorry, blah 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 blah. The guy was dancing and then he had a heart attack and fell over. That's how he died. So that's the only death on the property. While closing, staff have since heard footsteps, voices, and music playing on the speakers that have turned off. So they think maybe it's the dancing guy.
Ooh.
Yeah, I don't like the voices thing. They've also heard like mimic voices, which I don't like at all.
You know that mimic thing, I think for some reason is so scary to our generation. I don't know what it is, but there's something about like doppelgangers and mimics that like blew up on TikTok. We talked about that. It feels like one of those creepy like urban legends that's gonna be like specific to our generation. I don't know why.
I feel like I never heard about them until I got older. Many people have also felt something watching them through the building, seen apparitions, shadow figures, and moving lights. And one investigative team also got a picture of a face reflecting off of a TV screen.
Ew.
Yuck. People feel bursts of cold air. They smell weird odors. They get crazy EVPs. They've gotten EVPs of clapping, which I hate for some reason. It's worse than a voice.
So creepy.
I hate that.
You know what that makes me think of, like A Quiet Place or something, where it's like the clap to make it like, oh, it feels like something bad's about to happen.
Ugh.
Why am I traumatized by every movie I've ever seen? No wonder I hate
that
movies.
one is worth it though. That one is fair.
That's the least scared I've been at any movie, and I've only watched Fievel and fucking Bambi.
There's also an EVP of someone saying "sit down," which please remember that because that comes back later.
Okay.
So it's been said that in the back dining area, there's a portal to the other side. Multiple investigators have deemed this place haunted.
Side of the building. Yeah, it's called a door, guys. There's
I wish I had
to the other side.
I wish I had my sound effects
I'm
so I could do the crickets.
You don't. I'm actually so glad I just realized you don't, so now I can say whatever I want.
Do you remember the one time we'd had a live show and there was literally a cricket in the fucking restaurant?
That was so good. That felt like God's fucking prank on us. You know what I mean?
At some point you did something where you made a joke, or you made a joke that like it wasn't actually meant to be a joke, but there was silence afterwards, and I was like, "Where's that cricket?" And that was like the biggest laugh we got all night.
I like that you're like, I remember my joke about the cricket.
I don't remember what you said, but I remember thinking like, "Oh, this is the perfect moment for that cricket to really show up."
Cricket. I forgot, and it was literally like chirp, chirp, chirp. I mean, it's like the last sound that you want to associate with your own comedy, and
besides boo.
Besides boo, exactly. Yeah, crickets. I'd prefer boo. I feel like boo's at least a reaction. At least somebody's there.
That was still so good, though. I remember just hearing a cricket the whole time, and I remember thinking like, is someone fucking with us? Like, is there a literal fucking cricket here?
Somebody had a button or something. You know,
did Jiminy come to the show? Okay, so anyway, yes, there's a portal to the other side of the door. Multiple investigators have deemed this place haunted, and scared employees have literally asked Van to come back to the bar after he's left because they're so scared of being alone with the activity.
Oh, Van.
Van himself has had a weird moment where one time he was making coffee in the kitchen and some of it spilled on the floor, so he like threw a dish rag over it to wipe it up. And when he picked up the rag, the coffee stains on the rag spelled out Van die.
What?
Like die. Van. His name and die.
I literally thought you were gonna say like, and then the coffee stains were gone or something, and it never was. And then you said like it spelled out words that it just was taking me by surprise. Van die. Okay, it had to be really clear because you don't necessarily look at a stain and think, what does this spell if it were words? Like it must have been so clear that he just glanced at it and went, holy shit.
Especially because despite this, he's unsure if the place is really haunted. So he doesn't even really believe in the ghosts, which means...
Did he get a picture of this thing?
There's no picture that I saw. But like, if you already aren't a believer and then you see that and you're like, oh, that's fucking weird. It's like worth mentioning, then it must be pretty clear.
You'd think so, right? Like, because otherwise it would mean you were looking for a sign. And obviously, if he doesn't believe it. Yeah, that's really strange, Emma. I don't know. So
that is... when it comes to just Googling, that was literally fucking all I could find. But then, of course, guess who's been there?
I'm like, who?
So this is, for those of you who want this, essentially a review of...
play-by-play.
A play-by-play of an episode.
Do you want me to play the one-star Beach Too Sandy music again with my vocal cords?
Yes,
what if we have Jack put the music under it just for shits and gigs?
That'd be beautiful, except this is a lot of bullet notes. So
okay. Well, it is on loop, so we'll see if we can pull it off.
Well, so this was in 2018, and this is season 20, episode 4 of Ghost Adventures. And this is where I also have to say, this is all the info. It's almost like I'm giving you a second rundown of the history because none of this was online anywhere. All the info I'm about to tell you, it was like 2 different stories, and I checked, it's not. But all the history, you would have thought any of that would have been something that like Zach used as a reason why the place is haunted. They never mentioned the guy dancing and falling. They never mentioned.
Where was that source from? Like, or what source was that from?
Those were all of my internet sources. That was
like, was that like from their website, or was that like a different?
There was like
article.
Let me see how many articles there were. 11 sources.
Some of them were all told that story, and then Ghost Adventures was different.
Yeah,
that's weird.
And so yeah, this just goes into like who's telling the truth. But yeah, and some of them were like newspaper articles. Most of them were newspaper articles. But then there was like only in your state and TripAdvisor. But most of them were like Santa Fe, New Mexican, the Deming Headlight, New Mexico Magazine, newspapers.com, the actual restaurant website.
So it's even from their own website. See, that's crazy, because if that would be the story you'd think they'd tell in person too, if it's on their website.
Well, so the death of the body, that was from a newspaper article. I don't think that was from the website.
So maybe they don't lean into that or something.
Yeah, so maybe they don't. Maybe he like really doesn't believe in the ghost, so he just doesn't talk about it a lot. Right. But basically everything I'm going to tell you now, I did not see on any other sources except from Zach. Meanwhile, anything I saw on those sources does not get mentioned. So like the ghost of the man dropping, they don't even talk about him.
Remember when you did do this about a spaghetti warehouse, I think?
I sure do. Yeah.
Or whatever the fuck.
The spaghetti factory or something.
Yeah. You switched them by mistake, and it was very... Listen, that might have been the show with the cricket, because I think...
Remember when I learned about fucking black holes by accident?
Remember when you thought you had a fever, but really there was an actual ant walking across your notes on stage? Oh,
that was Florida. That was the last time I felt this sick.
The number of like insects that have been involved. What about the time you got hand, foot, and mouth? I'm going to quote you on this if you tell me that that wasn't as bad.
But this is like a cold symptoms. That was a literal disease. It felt like that was crazy.
I mean, it was.
that was its own.
That felt like a literal disease.
To this day, I call it the thing that you would wish on your worst enemy, because it was.
Oh my lord! Okay, all right.
Because it was. They're gonna recover and they're gonna be fine. But in terms of like pain and inconvenience, it's the exact thing you want to give somebody you hate.
No, I'm going to give somebody Crohn's disease. Good luck with that. I'm going to hand that out and see what happens. That's my punishment.
If you wanted to wish something on someone you knew they'd recover eventually, hand, foot, and mouth disease is the thing for sure.
I mean, it seems like that's exactly what happened and what I did.
But,
my finances. I think all our finances can take a little bit of a hit during the holidays. So if you've ever had to borrow from your savings or increase your debt a little bit on a credit card for holiday expenses, we've been there. Take control of your finances by using a Chime checking account with features like no monthly or maintenance fees, fee-free overdraft up to $200. That's pretty big. Or getting paid up to 2 days early with direct deposit. You can learn more at chime.com/drink. See, here's what it'll do, okay? This is pretty cool. If you overdraft, which has happened to some people in the room that I'm in, which is just me and just you in that room, you know what? It's happened, okay? But guess what? Chime allows you to overdraft up to $200 with no fees. It's almost like you have a friend who's like, here, I'll spot you.
Friends give friends a boost, and eligible members get complimentary boosts to temporarily increase a friend's Spot Me limit. When you give a boost, they can boost you back to temporarily raise your limit. So everyone's helping everyone.
Enjoy the holidays while keeping your financial goals on track with Chime. Open your account in 2 minutes at chime.com/drink. That's chime.com/drink. Chime. Feels like progress. Banking services and debit card provided by the Bancorp Bank N.A. or Stride Bank N.A. members FDIC. Spot Me eligibility requirements and overdraft limits apply. Direct deposit timing depends on submission of payment file. Boosts are available to eligible Chime members enrolled in Spot Me and are subject to monthly limits. Fees apply at out-of-network ATMs and for OTC withdrawals. Anyway.
Hand, foot, mouth disease is my weapon of choice, is all I'm going to say.
Oh my lord,
so
no comment.
That's why I wanted to say that this information is going to sound like different.
Yeah.
But I will say Van Jacobson was like heavily involved in this episode, so he was there.
That's what's so confusing if his website says it, you know? That's just so weird.
I also want to mention that in terms of Ghost Adventures episodes, this one is cinematic art.
What? And you know that's saying something. Because this is a cinematic show.
This, I feel like it was actually written I mean, arguably it was written. Maybe it wasn't. I don't know. But if it wasn't, everything fell in place very beautifully.
Is this one that got an Oscar? That Zach got an Oscar for?
Are you kidding me? Does he have an Oscar?
No.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Is this one Zach got a Tony for?
I was like, you have to be kidding. Well, he probably got a Grammy for that fucking Rhonda. Holy shit song. So.
If not, he deserves one, and he's been cheated out of it.
The Immortal Portal Grammy. It's hit platinum.
He's gonna be in Wicked too.
I know. Oh my god. So, okay, here's why it's cinematic art. Let me just tell you how this episode goes. So, and I also want to say, fun fact, that when this episode came out, the Adobe Deli hosted a watch party during its premiere, which I love.
Now that's so cool. That's so fun.
It included a steak dinner and an investigation at the end of it.
Oh, and that's our dream, to watch the episode and then get to like do a ghost hunt at the place.
Steak and a ghost? Are you kidding me?
With a steak? I mean, come on.
So, okay.
Remember in a one-room schoolhouse? Hang on. It's getting better.
I have to.
Like, think about it. The more I think about it, the number of whiskeys. I mean, think about it. It's like made for, I mean, I don't drink whiskey, but I'll take a try at tequila.
Well, there's 400 tequilas.
Yeah, exactly. I'll make it work. But
apparently they have their own signature tequila you can bring home too. So
this is so fun.
Okay, so remember I told you all about the bric-a-brac all over the walls.
I remember.
That is why Zach came here. Starts there. Because he believes that everything has a lot of energy connected to it. So he was like, the chaotic energy is obviously why I'm coming to this
everything
place.
In this place he believed had, or everything in the world he believes has.
He's a big believer in everything has energy attached to it.
So he found out this place had a lot of junk all over it. And not junk, sorry, art. And then said, I got to go there because there's all this stuff. Okay, gotcha. And, he probably wanted to collect it for his fucking museum.
Hold that thought. So
shut up.
So on top of all that energy, this is why I mentioned the indigenous thing earlier. Zach suspects that the building is haunted because of the indigenous people who, quote, slaughtered settlers in their sleep.
Oh my god, Zachary Alexander Bagans, get it together, you motherfucker.
So that's the story they're going with. Not that like the town is made
Holy
of quartz.
Shit, Rhonda.
Not that it's near a World War I training camp, sanatorium, local legend, Satanist gathering area.
Okay, but how awkward if you're the owner. What's his name again? Van. Mm-hmm. What if you're Van and you're like, I put on this big watch party, and then Zach like wrote a whole new history. You know what I mean? Like,
That's true.
What if he told him, like, no, here's the backstory. It's on our website. And then Zach was like, actually, I like to go with the Native American theory. Like, what if they watched it and went, holy shit, that is not.
Maybe. Honestly,
you know
maybe that's what happened. I don't know.
Ugh.
Like, when like Van like slowly started turning the volume down.
Yes,
like,
exactly. And he's like, should we start the ghost hunt early? Let's
bring out more steak, distract them.
Where's the commercial break?
So Zach talks to Van. Well, okay, actually, sidebar to that whole conversation we just had.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if Van is on top of it socially.
That's an interesting thing to say.
Speak
on that.
Not in like a like I think he's maybe out of touch with the way we see things, because
this is getting more and more.
Well, if you watch it, just trust the process on this.
What the fuck does he say? Okay.
So Zach goes there because obviously the indigenous people murdered everybody. How dare they, right? Yeah. Then Zach talks to Van, who tells him, "Oh yeah, I'm saying indigenous, by the way. Never once was the word indigenous used in the show."
Well, obviously.
Van tells him, "Oh yeah, this indigenous guy who's an alcoholic," which was not necessary, died in the parking lot when his car caught on fire and he burned inside of it.
Jesus.
But so why wasn't that in any of the fucking newspaper articles? And Van is the one who said this.
What the fuck is going on at this place?
And so when I think he was saying, by mentioning the alcoholic thing, maybe it's like he fell asleep in his car.
Right.
I guess. But anyway, the car overheated and the grass was dry, so the car caught on fire and then he burned inside of it. Then the guy's family, also indigenous, asked Van if they could bring the charred remains back to the property and do a proper ceremony or a proper ritual for their loved one who passed away. And so that's another reason why he thinks it might be haunted, because an indigenous person died here, and then his remains were brought back and a ritual was performed on the property. So, but again, where was that in the newspaper? Never saw that anywhere. So then we get to all of the bric-a-brac. Van says that 40 of the hundreds of items, 40 of them are from an auction where the original owner of these items killed 2 men.
What?
Over drugs, is what he had to say.
And
so
what the wait, what kind of items were they? Did you see what kind of stuff it was?
That was so, a lot of it is taxidermy. One of them that they really honed in on was a water buffalo.
Stop.
Taxidermied water buffalo. And Zach says, do you think this water buffalo witnessed these murders? And then...
Wait, let me answer. Yes, I do.
Well, so they're talking about all these items. Zach goes, do you think this water buffalo that you bought from the original killer, do you think he saw the murder? And then Ghost Adventures zooms in on the water buffalo and edits a teardrop into his eye.
Absolutely not.
Here's the picture for you.
Absolutely not. You're fucking with me right now. I'm like...
Do you see it?
Is it? No, not yet. It's opening. My computer's so slow. Sorry. Is this some sort? I mean, you can't make this shit up.
Literally, the edit is the tear rolling down his face.
You know, Zach had to have come up with this, right? Like, this is not. I mean, what in God's name is happening right now?
Isn't that? Do you see the picture?
I see the picture.
Isn't it so unnecessarily dramatic?
It zooms of control.
It zooms in on the face, and as it pans out, the tear starts dropping.
This is insanity. This is insanity. You're right. Cinematic magic. You are. I can't believe I've never seen this episode.
So then Zach interviews this one employee who says that her cousin came in to do a cleansing there, but then the cousin started acting weird, so they physically had to remove her from the building, and she still wasn't acting right. And it felt like someone was physically pulling them back into the house, which is terrifying. So anyway, the team, when they start investigating or doing their walkthrough, they feel cold air. Throughout the night, they also get a figure from the SLS camera or the stick figure camera. They see a little stick figure pop up. Their EMF detector intelligently spikes. So whenever
what if they saw a big water buffalo?
Oh my God.
On the SLS.
Yeah. Are you kidding me? What if they saw only the tear rolling down?
Oh.
They saw, so their EMF detector spiked whenever it was asked. They got flashes of weird light. They felt like something was jabbing them. They got orbs. But at some point, Zach sees a shadow move in a room. And he says, this room feels like it's the most negative. Let's call this the scary room from now on, because we're going to return to it.
Okay.
So this is the scary room. And this is where Zach says it feels the most negative anyway. So in this scary room, way back when, there was a bartender there named Craig who actually fell asleep in the scary room after the bar closed. And he woke up to feeling what felt like 5 or 6 people sitting on his chest. He could no longer hear anything. And when it all kind of broke, he felt free again, but all he heard was the phrase "sit down," which was that EVP that another team had heard.
Shut the fuck up.
So he heard "sit down," and the stereo in the other room was blaring and it had turned on by itself. So during this interview, Zach and this bartender that they're interviewing, they do an EVP.
They're interviewing Craig?
They're interviewing Craig, yeah.
Oh, got it. Okay.
So he's telling the story of this happening to him.
For some reason, I thought he died.
Oh, no.
I think because you said he fell asleep in the kitchen. I thought it was going to catch on fire again or something. But okay, so he's part of that.
Yeah, so they're asking him about this story.
Gotcha.
So they hear the story. While they're doing this, Zach asks one of the EMF detectors to spike all the way to red if it can hear them. And two different times he asks that, and it does intelligently spike right away.
Ooh.
Very creepy. Flash forward, because we didn't hear this in the moment, but an EVP was caught during this of Craig's voice. The camera is on Craig and he's not talking.
Ah!
The camera is on Craig and he's not talking, but you can hear his voice saying, "Fuck you."
Ew! That is so gross. I hate that. It's like using your identity to mask
and your
itself.
power, because you're just sitting there and it's taking your energy.
That's so nasty. I don't like that. I don't give you permission to do that, you little creepy ghost.
There was another creepy voice that came through, but it was kind of inaudible. In the silence, so when Craig does actually speak, he says, I guess he can feel something around him, and he kind of has like a vulnerable moment, and he says, "Did you know my dad?" Like, he asked the ghosts, "Did you know my dad?" And he thought, apparently, as he asked that, he heard in his head, he heard the word Mike, which was his dad's name.
Oh.
And he's said, like, I heard the name Mike, and he got emotional and he left the property. Well, later on playback, they got an EVP of a voice saying Mike. Ugh.
And he didn't even, was it at the same time the same time he
was
had
at the
heard?
same time he heard.
Oh my Lord.
So, here we go. So Zach finds out that a few feet away from the restaurant, there's a little shed that Van keeps additional bric-a-brac in. And it's a specific collection.
That sounds shady as fuck, but I know it's just creepy taxidermy animals.
Well, this collection is indigenous artifacts.
I knew there was something shady going on. God damn it.
But apparently Van himself on camera says they are 900 to 1,500 years old. And he just
900 to how many? Wait, 900 to
1,500 years old.
My brain couldn't even compute that, but
who knows how real that is? Let's be clear.
Because I'm sure he's a historian also, amongst all this other shit. So that's so fucked up to be like, anyway, keep it in this shed. Like, Jesus Christ.
Yes. And especially because the items are, I hope I'm saying it right, Mimbres killhole bowls, which are bowls that in that culture, when someone passes away, they would put a bowl that had a hole in it in the center. They would put it over their face.
Okay.
When they buried the body, I think when they buried the body, or when they were at least preparing the body for death. And the hole allowed the spirit to come out and fly away. So, or go to the other side.
Fly away.
I don't know, to wherever you want to fly. And not only is this something like very like important to that culture,
and, like,
but it's
holy and sacred.
But it's also like attached to the spirit world.
Right. Like, it's a very sacred thing. Yeah. Wow.
So Van says, he's like, shows him like this whole display. there's like several of them just like lined up on a shelf.
So it's sort of like a death mask, but not like a mask. It's a cover, like a shroud. It's
literally,
something.
Yeah, it's literally a bowl with a hole in it, and they just put it on someone's face. Yeah. And it has like all these like, you know, art on it. They're all individually, they all look different.
Oh, cool.
So anyway, he sees all of these. Even Zach feels shaken up by this. He's like, oh God.
Thanks for showing me your shed, guy. Yeah.
This like random white cowboy in New Mexico is like, look at all these like not saying the word indigenous artifacts.
Yeah.
That are 900 to 1,500 years old. Which, like, first of all, how, like, are you just guessing that number? Because if anyone in their right mind actually gave you that number, they would also tell you to like donate these or not keep them for yourself.
If they're selling them.
You think?
You know, yeah. If people are selling them. Yeah, like in
I don't think they're for sale though. Oh.
No, like, because I go on estate sales a lot, and people, like, wealthy folks love to collect shit like this and put it on display, and then when they pass away they go for sale, and you always hope it goes somewhere, you know, where it's like respected and appreciated, whatever, but you never know. I mean, I could just easily pay couple $100 and take it to my house and be like, look what I have, you know. So I think there's a degree that some people just don't even realize, you know.
That's true.
So it could very well be that somebody just sold it from an estate sale or something, and he bought it like that other guy and like put it in his shed and
yeah. So anyway, this is like his personal collection. This is why I was saying earlier, I don't think he's as progressive as maybe we are.
Is that what you were saying? We couldn't figure out what you were saying because you just kept saying he's socially
I see.
Different, and we were like, what?
Sorry. I meant like socially, like politically
behind the times, maybe.
Behind the times, yeah.
And then again, it's 2024 and Trump is our next president, so maybe we're behind the times. I don't know anymore.
I don't know.
You know, fuck my life.
So Zach is obviously even uncomfortable a little bit, and Van
Not
says,
obviously, but thank you for pointing that out. You said obviously he's very uncomfortable.
he's
I know, but that's not obvious. Usually he's not. So if he is uncomfortable, that means like Van has pushed him pretty far.
that's true.
Like
So
it's a low bar.
Van tells him when people see these bowls, they say they feel spirits near them, and he seems a little like surprised. Like Van himself is surprised that people say that they feel spirits on these things. He also says that ever since collecting them, he has dreams about indigenous people, and he doesn't see a correlation.
What? So he's still maintaining that he doesn't believe in ghosts.
Right.
Oh my lord. Okay.
Van even picks up one of the bowls and like kind of passes it over to Zach and says, "Hold one for yourself."
No.
And then Zach literally says, "I think this is the one time I'm gonna not hold the object."
Shut up. Shut up. Like, I just got a flash of those headlines of Post Malone crashing his car after the Dybbuk box, and Zach won't touch this. That's amazing. Wow.
He's like, "I'm good." Wow. So later, Zach hears a noise and sees a shadow dart by a mural in this restaurant. A mural happens to be 3 indigenous faces staring at you. So
what
Zach,
the fuck?
So Zach makes this a part of the storyline where it's like a shadow darted by the indigenous people staring at me, so it must be them.
Yeah.
Which I will say, the mural is actually kind of jarring in the middle of the night. It's 3 massive faces staring at you.
But also there's a giant wild boar over there, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. So Aaron alone is in the scary room, and he says, "I'm feeling an energy in here," and the Ovilus says the word laugh. Then he hears clattering like silverware hits the floor.
Oh, boy.
So like silverware moved by itself and hit the floor. He takes off. Then when they're all together,
hear that?
Yes. Oh, you definitely hear it.
Okay.
And it sounds exactly like silverware hitting the floor. Later they confirm that, but when I heard it, I was like, that was like a fork or something for sure. The Ovilus then says group after bar, which Zach takes as it's talking about them because they're the group after the bar closed. Okay.
Sure.
And then the Ovilus says apocalypse, tease, altar, curse. And Zach takes that as they're cursed after teasing the altar of the bulls. And now they're the end of the world because
he is such a little dingus is what he is. Like, okay.
So he was like, tease the altar and now we're cursed. I didn't tease any altar. And the other guys were like, yeah, you did, dude. Yeah, you did. Because what they didn't show you on camera, Mr. I'm not going to hold the object. Guess who fucking bought one of them off of Van?
No. So he was just going to not like tell that part?
He literally was like, I'm not going to hold it. But then he bought one, so I'm sure he held it.
Of course he did. I swear to God, this fucking guy. And now it's in his fucking museum.
So while talking about this, and like even the other guys are like, yes, you literally teased the altar by buying one of them. The Ovilus says knife, wish, disease.
Oh no, that's no good.
So Zach asks the spirits to show themselves, and through the window,
hand, foot, mouth.
Yeah, truly. Zach asks the spirits to show themselves, and through the window, he sees a shadow walk past a door. So he goes to check the door and finds crushed animal bones left on the stoop.
Okay, crushed animal bones?
Mm-hmm. Which
do they show it?
Yes, they do. But also, like, I'm not convinced that wasn't somebody who just put a fucking skull there. But this is where Zach says, "Oh, guys, by the way, we're in Skinwalker territory."
Ew! Ah!
They come back into the scary room. They actually find a knife on the ground and realize that that's what dropped. That's what Aaron heard. And the Ovilus had said the word knife.
Yes.
As the group leaves the room, they hear something else drop. And when they go back to check the room, now a sign is on the floor that was on the wall. It's now fallen on the floor. And the sign said, "It's all about me."
Ew.
This is when they start freaking the fuck out because they look up and realize the sign, like the shadow earlier, happened right next to the mural of the 3 faces.
Yeesh.
So At this point, they're looking back on when the Ovilus said group after bar, and they originally thought it was about them. Now they think group after bar is about this mural because it's the group of faces just past the bar. And right at the mural, at the bottom of the mural, the sign falls. It says, "It's all about me."
Oh.
Aaron asks, "Is it okay that Zach has the bowl?" And they hear this huge crashing sound. Aaron smells rotten eggs, and then they hear another slam. And when Aaron runs off, the next time you see him on camera, he's on the ground because at some point his knees buckled and he fell and got scratches on his head. Isn't that like so dramatic? And then the show ends.
Oh
Cut to black.
Oh my God. Cinematic.
Cinematic. So
wow.
Anyway, that was very long, but that was the Adobe Deli.
Wow. Em told me I have a short story for you today, and I was not prepared for.
I really thought it was going to be a short one. It was like the notes were half what they usually are. It was just Ghost Adventures notes.
It had to be Ghost Adventures. That must be why I couldn't contain myself. But we also always do this where we're like, it's short, so then we just banter and then make it longer than it should have been.
Whoops.
So this one is about Mike Barajas. And when I say this one, I mean this episode that I'm about to tell you.
Right. You just kind of dropped right into it.
So this one, I've never found a good way to start my segment. Usually it's I have to pee and then an awkward tangent. But I'm going to try something new, which is today's story is about Mike Barajas.
Okay.
So Mike Barajas, full name Miguel Barajas, nickname Mike. He was in his early 20s serving in the Army at Fort Bliss in El Paso, Texas, when he met a woman named Sandra Siegel. So Mike lived off base, and he stopped every morning at the same gas station and convenience store for gas, drinks, and snacks. And it didn't hurt that he met Sandra at this gas station because she worked there and she had the same shift and she was kind of cute and a few years older than him. And so he would stop in almost every day and chat up Sandra. And as time passed, their casual morning chit chat became like much more in-depth conversations. And Mike and Sandra really got to know each other and started to really like each other. So Sandra was born in 1960 right there in El Paso, and she had always been strong-willed and straightforward, like a very no-nonsense, very blunt kind of person. She could be a little harsh with her honesty, but people actually seemed to like that about her. She had been married just out of high school, and so by the time she was working at the gas station and met Mike, she was already divorced, and she was a couple years older than him, but she was already divorced and had 2 young daughters at home who were both under 6 years old. And so I imagine that the day that Mike learns about the 2 kids at home and the divorce, I imagine that she's probably like, this is going to be a test of our newfound friendship. Big day for us. Let's see if we get past this. But they did. And it did not scare him away. He really, really liked Sandra and was willing to try and make things work. He was, like I said, a few years younger, I think about 5 years younger. And he was actually the eldest of 4 boys that had been born into a military family that moved around a lot in childhood. And so he was very used to being kind of like the eldest, the more responsible one. And so when Sandra told him about her daughters, it just didn't really phase him much. And as kind of just a very chill and natural leader type, he didn't really mind. So they got together, and just a year after they met, Sandra and Mike were married. And he became a 21-year-old stepfather to 2 children.
Ooh,
so,
big
commitment.
Yeah.
So just like he'd been with his younger brothers when he was a kid, Mike was very doting toward the 2 girls, very devoted to them, treated them like his own biological children. And once his initial contract with the Army ended, Mike decided to leave and take a civilian job as a hospital security guard so that he would be able to stay home more often, have easier shifts, and spend more time with his new family, his new daughters. So the family all lived together in El Paso until Dawn and Angie grew into teenagers. And that's when the family moved almost 600 miles north to Colorado Springs. So Mike's brothers and some of his extended family lived there, and Mike desperately wanted to move closer to his family. He was really close to his brothers. And Sandra and the girls had gone to Colorado to spend Christmas with his family for years, but when it came to moving there, they were like, it's a big ask, you know? It's a completely different climate, obviously, from El Paso to Colorado.
Right.
You're very far away from Sandra's family, who is all in El Paso, and you know they're the daughters are teenagers, so they would have to like uproot in high
Oh,
school, you know,
what a
and start a new.
massive,
It's a
massive
big
ask.
shift, and so Mike was just really, really pushing this idea, and eventually, you know, they thought, okay, well, we're gonna do this for you. And they decided to uproot to Colorado Springs. Mike's brother Greg got him a job as a mechanic at a car dealership, and it paid a lot more than what he did in El Paso. So that was like a selling point as well, that he was going to make a lot more money up there. And because he was the family's breadwinner, they were like, well, okay, I guess that answers that question. And they went up there so that he could start this new job, and they uprooted. According to those who knew them, they stayed a very tight knit, normal family as far as people knew. Even though financially they, you know, were much better off now. But in high school, Dawn, one of the daughters, began to struggle with her grades, and she started acting out. She started getting in trouble, very, you know, typical teenage stuff. And Mike tried to guide her kind of the way he had his younger brothers, but Dawn rebelled against that, and they really chafed and started to, I don't know, butt heads, and yeah, there was now conflict in the home and tension.
What was their age gap? Because he was pretty young, right?
So he was 21, and the kids were they were under 6.
Okay,
and
so
15 years.
Okay, for a second I was like, is there? That makes sense. That feels parental. A 15-year
Yeah, I think it's
age
enough.
difference.
I think it's at least enough where if you met this person also at age 6, that they would seem like an adult to you from the beginning. But
Right.
I mean, as someone who has a stepdad who's quite young, especially compared to my biological dad, there is a weird, I feel like there can be sometimes a weird dynamic when you get older of like, you're not even that, when you realize like, wait, you were 21 when you became my dad. You know what I mean? There can be that kind of realization, I think. But yeah, I don't know if it was just because Dawn was rebellious by nature. I don't know if she just really didn't get along with him anymore. I don't really know, but there was conflict and tension in the house. And so as soon as she graduated high school, she moved out and left home. And she started kind of doing that thing where she moved from place to place, living with different boyfriends, and struggled with substance use disorder. And her family really worried about her, but it was just like they couldn't save her. Like they couldn't connect with her. They didn't know what to do. And Mike just felt like there was nothing he could do, even though she was, to him, his oldest daughter. That's kind of how that's how he saw her. That's who she was. And he still felt like she had kind of just slipped his grasp somehow. So he had no choice but to focus on life at home with his wife, Sandra, and their youngest. Mike lived a routine life. It was a life he liked. He worked hard at his job. He was very well liked, very respected. He was also very much like a neighborhood guy where, you know, he'd be out working on the car and chat up everybody who walked past. Everybody in the car also said, like, if they had car trouble, he would just come check it out to be nice, and then would take the time to explain it. And, you know, he would just help people out mechanically with their cars for free, and would volunteer at Catholic church on Saturdays and Sundays, and just very much like the guy on call if a neighbor needed anything, like help with anything.
A pillar of the community.
A pillar.
Ironically.
I was waiting for someone to say it. Yes. Precisely. So in 2013, Mike and Sandra celebrated their 27th wedding anniversary, and 33-year-old Dawn had recently moved back in temporarily, and her younger sister still lived at home. So I don't know the exact age between her and her sister, but it was probably 3-4 years, something like that.
Cool.
So now they're all under the same roof again. And Mike did his best to get along with Dawn, even though they had had that kind of separation for a while. And the neighbors didn't really, as much as they knew Mike, they didn't really know Sandra that much. But they said they had often seen her with Mike on the porch, having an iced tea, having a drink in the evenings.
Love that.
Seemed like very normal, very happy neighbors.
You know, when I was One of my dreams in a dream house is to have a wraparound porch that I can sit in a rocking chair and drink
Yep.
lemonade.
Yep.
And I always wanted that, like, the slow rock and someone walks by and you just go, "Howdy, Bob. Hey,
Yep.
Bob." You just know all your neighbors, and
And
just
then
the
you say kind of the
slow
same line, kind of develop like an inside joke line with somebody and just
nothing gets me like the idea of a wraparound porch. Ooh, and it's raining a little bit. Ooh.
oh,
Ooh.
and you got a blanket on your lap. Oh, it's so nice.
Please. Oh my God. I mark my words. One day I will have a wraparound porch. One day I'll have a porch.
Wow. Now that'll be the day.
Oh, man. Okay. Sorry. I heard sitting on the porch together and I was like, that just sounds like a lovely little fantasy.
Now I'm daydreaming.
Man, a Victorian mansion. With a wraparound porch. Please. Mamma mia. Okay.
Say less.
What's an element of your dream house, Christine?
I don't know. As you know, I'm getting into my shadow work and I'm like finally figuring out that I don't know anything about myself. So these kind of questions, I never know the answer. What do I want in a dream house? Definitely. But see, I have a balcony I like because
Oh,
I can see people, they can't see me. So, and we do have a balcony here and it is delightful because I have my bird feeder and I can drink out there and do other things with
and
my
you can sit
pen.
on a rocking chair and drink lemonade out there.
And I have my rocking chair and I can drink my quote unquote lemonade, which is just red wine. And I can just watch the neighbors and no one can see me. It's really nice.
Very jealous of you.
It's really delightful. Well, come sit with me.
Sit a spell.
I sit a spell. I'm here all by my lonesome, you know? Okay, so that's kind of what they were considered by neighbors, just the normal sit on your porch in the evenings type of family. Now we head to February 13th, 2013. This is the day before Valentine's Day. Sandra and Dawn took Angie to the hospital while Mike was at work. Now, Sandra is the wife, Dawn is the eldest, and Angie is the younger sister. So Sandra and Dawn take Dawn's younger sister Angie to the hospital while Mark is at work. Now, we know that, but we don't know if this was like an emergency or just an appointment or an infusion. We don't know like what was going on. But we do know that they did go to the hospital that day for some reason. And meanwhile, Sandra stayed at the hospital with Angie into the evening while Dawn arrived home around 7 p.m. So Dawn arrives at the house. She finds the front door open and she opens the door and shouts inside, "Daddy?"
Well,
And Mike should have been home from work, but there's no response. And
this is like the beginning of a Fievel Goes West, isn't it?
Oh my God, this really, don't say that to me now. My chest hurts. Ow. So inside the house, as she looks around, it's chaos. It looks like someone has just destroyed the place, ransacked the cabinets, the drawers, furniture is on the ground. There's spray paint graffiti on the walls. And so she calls out for her dad again on the way to her parents' bedroom. But when she sees that all of their bedding had been yanked into a pile on the floor, something about that like really freaks her out. And she backs out of the house and calls 911 to report a break-in. And she's like, something's so wrong. Something terrible's happened. They tell her to wait outside in case someone's still in the house. And they arrive a few minutes later with their weapons drawn. And they do a sweep of the house. They don't find anyone inside. But they do find the body of Mike, who was wrapped up in his bed sheets, dead on the floor of his bedroom. So the scene outside the house was chaotic. All these neighbors are, of course, like, what's going on? You know, and you and I are sitting on our rocking chairs, like, texting Blaze, tell us what's happening over there. We don't want to get up.
Totally.
But someone's telling us what's going on from afar. But yeah, the scene was chaotic. All these neighbors are coming to figure out what is going on. First responders come and try to investigate if this was a burglary. Sandra arrives and asks to go inside and see her husband. And an officer says, you can't enter because it's a crime scene. They said, all I can tell you is that we have an unknown deceased victim in the house. And Sandra nearly collapsed and she started just scream crying. Why?
I just can't imagine.
So Mike's brothers stood outside with Sandra and the crowd just hoping for any sort of information or answers. And as they took in the scene, they noticed a man who just seemed out of place and did not look familiar. And he looked out of place because it was February in Colorado and below freezing temperatures, but he was wearing a t-shirt and shorts.
Oh, forget it. Oh my God.
Just standing there. And his appearance already made him stick out, but then he started acting weird too. He approached one of the brothers. Remember, this guy's trying to figure out if his oldest brother has just been like murdered or is hurt or what. So this guy in a t-shirt and shorts walks up to the brother and says, "Can you give me a ride home?"
Mental illness.
And the guy goes, "Who are you? And why do you need a ride? And what do you want?" And he says, "Oh, I'm friends with Mike's daughters." And so he asked around everybody in the crowd, like, "Can someone give me a ride?" And everyone's like, "No, who the hell are you?" And so he calls a taxi service and leaves on his own.
Mental illness,
It's
right?
Just so weird. So weird.
Because first of all, my first thought, if this were a Law and Order episode, I'd be like, well, that's not the killer because it's too obvious.
Because it's too obvious, right?
But
well, unfortunately, life is sometimes not stranger than fiction.
Wow, really? That's But again, has to be something not totally clicking up there for him to be like, "Oh, I'm just going to stick out like a sore thumb, then get in everyone's face, ask a question to the distressed, and like
I think
bother everyone." Like,
I would
part of his
argue
game.
I would argue mental illness and drugs. Mental illness plus drugs equals not the most logical of decision-making processes.
Got it. Okay. I was like, you're not look, you're also catching me like in the heat of this fucking CEO Luigi shooting situation.
Oh, yes.
I've been watching someone
the conspiracy
who may or may not be like a mastermind, and then I meet this guy and I'm like, okay, well, this is no Luigi.
I know. It really doesn't strike the same chord when you hear kind of the story, which makes it almost, I mean, not that it makes it sadder or different or whatever, but it's just like, wow, sometimes it's just like people do shit
right in your face,
right in front of you, and it's just shocking.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. And so he's walking around because I had the same thought, Em. I was like, well, that's just silly. Like, obviously that's not the guy.
Red herring all the way.
Red herring, exactly. Like, it's either too obvious or like, who would be that stupid, you know? But then
it's almost like that would be the move is like, well, I'm going to do the thing that's the most obvious because then no one will think it's me because it's too obvious.
It feels like the plot would be in the SVU episode or something. Like, I was trying to prove I'm not the killer. Like, what are you talking about? But yeah, it's nothing so complicated. Just unfortunately, 1 + 1 = 2. He's wandering around asking for a ride. Everyone's like, "Who the hell are you?" He says, "I'm friends with Mike's daughters." Nobody gives him a ride. He calls a taxi. So detectives start speaking with Mike's family. He's got these brothers. He's got his wife and his daughters. And they ask if Mike had any enemies who might want to hurt him because it did look like a burglary gone wrong. But they wanted to see if anyone maybe would have targeted him. There was a window broken from the outside into the basement, and somebody had pried open Mike's gun cabinet by force and stolen a weapon. The graffiti on the walls was suggestive of gang activity, and there had been several break-ins in Colorado Springs recently, which, as far as I know from just like reading in the news, is like a pretty conservative, like wealthy area, or at least like a wealthier part of the U.S. and I think pretty Christian. And so I think that this kind of gang activity was sort of was an actual red herring this time.
I was going to say
this guy tried to plant.
The graffiti spray paint is really like the biggest curveball for me.
Yeah, that's a curveball. Yeah, because that was just a red herring. That one was the red herring. And I think he thought, I've done enough. I've
gone
thrown
too
them
far.
off the scent. Yeah, I've thrown them off the scent. Now I need a ride home.
I'm perfectly at the right distance of the sun. I have not flown too close.
Right.
No one will ever see it coming.
My wings are starting to soften, but I'm going to drop back down and ask if anyone can drive me home now.
Right.
I'm tired. Yeah. So there had been several break-ins, so they're thinking like maybe this is gang activity, but maybe somebody targeted Mike. They're trying to figure it out. But it did seem as if Mike was home at the wrong time and that it could have just been a violent reaction to a burglary gone wrong. But of course, investigators need to look into it. One of Mike's brothers said that Mike's only enemy. Okay, imagine this conversation. So they're basically interviewing Mike's brothers, and one of them says, "Oh, he does have an enemy." And they say, "Who?" And he says, "His only enemy is his oldest daughter, Dawn."
Oh.
And they go, "Oh, so like your niece?" And he's like, "Yeah, I believe this is the brother." So this is the sibling of his siblings. This is like the outspoken one who's like, "I'll say it if no one else will say it."
Right.
He says, "I believe Dawn was stealing Mike's belongings with her friends, and when Mike came home and caught her, things became violent." And so that was what this guy said. And they were like, "Whoa, we did not even pursue that avenue yet." So the police discovered that Dawn did have previous drug-related charges against her, so they brought her in for questioning, but she insisted she knew nothing about the break-in, and she had an alibi because she had been in the hospital with her mom and sister that day. So detectives warned her that they would solve this case and that it would be wise for her to tell them the truth before someone else did, which feels like I'm in trouble with my parents, like
totally,
or with like a teacher, like you better tell me before someone else tells me, then you're really in trouble. Yeah,
trust me, nothing has ever scared me more in my life.
So scary.
To this day, like there are moments where like I want to lie and then I'm like, but what if someone else tells? You know, like
oh my god. The fear.
I had something happen recently where it's been resolved since, but I was really thinking like a white lie would really get me out of this. And I'm like, it's too risky.
I know.
Like, so that fear has been perfectly instilled as a kid. Perfectly instilled.
Like, think about how much worse it'll be. Think about how much worse it'll be when I find out later. Like, okay.
For some reason, the only thought in my head is like the slow punch of a bully on the recess,
like a wind up.
Yeah, it's like you better tell me now because it'll be much worse later if someone else tells me.
I'll give you something to cry about. So basically the police tell her this, which apparently does not faze her because she says, I did tell you the truth, bye, and leaves.
Okay, girl.
So she was not as afraid of the world as we are, I guess. But Mike's brothers are like, hey, by the way, there was this fucking weird guy in a t-shirt at the crime scene. And of course, all the brothers are like, we saw all this weird shit happening and we'll tell the police. And so the police are like, okay, thank you. Because no one else seems to be telling us this.
Yeah.
So now they know about the guy. And another brother, Chris, revealed a different detail that he remembered later, which is that he had called Mike, his landline, that day at 6 p.m. to talk to Mike. But a random man answered the phone.
Did he say, can you give me a ride?
This part got me because I was like, you have got to be fucking kidding me. Like, really? So he answers the fucking phone and he says, wait, where's Mike? And he goes, oh, he's in the shower. Like, what? Like, why would you be there?
Yeah, why wouldn't you just...
Who are you?
Why wouldn't you just not answer?
We'll get to that because I did also, I said you better have a reason, and technically he may have, but it did feel like, wow, you're the dumbest criminal of all time. And I know that there are so many of them, but like this one just hurts me. I'm like, guy, come on.
Oh my God.
So yeah, he called and he realized later, like, shit, that must have been my brother's killer that I talked to. So like he called the police and said, I have to add this to the story. And so on February 20th, this is a week later, an obituary was published locally, which said Mike's family would miss his big heart, sense of humor, and all-around amazing man. And it announced a private viewing for his family and other invited mourners to attend a memorial mass at the church that Mike had always volunteered at. But meanwhile, investigators were looking for the strange t-shirted man that Mike's brothers had reported. And
Mr. Graffiti.
Mr. Answer the Phone.
Mr. I Need a Ride.
On it. Yeah, Mr. I Need a Ride. And Mr. Worldwide. Nope, that's slander. I didn't mean Pitbull. He's not part of this.
He's in the shower.
He's in the shower. Wasn't me. Meanwhile, investigators were looking for the man. They suspected he was the same person Chris had spoken to on the phone because, like, what are the odds that two random weird men are around, like, acting strange in this small neighborhood? And so they're assuming it's the same guy, but they don't really have any real leads. So they start contacting local taxi companies because he took a taxi after nobody would give him a fucking ride.
That's totally true.
Imagine asking the brother of the man you just murdered to give you a ride home and assuming he would.
I'm telling you,
crazy.
Immediately I was like, mental illness. Like, first of all, you're not... drugs totally makes sense as well. But I was like, you're in Colorado in February in shorts, and now you're not able to read the room. I was like, something's amiss for sure.
Yes, big time. And so you're right. It could be a number of things, but I think definitely mental illness and drugs are probably the two biggest culprits here. But yeah, so they're calling taxi companies hoping like, oh, did you pick up some guy in a t-shirt who was acting kind of weird? And miraculously, one company said, yeah, we did. We picked somebody up at that address.
They were like, thank God you asked us because we've been talking about this weird fucking guy all day.
We've been trying to figure out who the hell this guy is. Yeah.
You know, whoever got that phone call at the taxi company went, please hold. And then
guys.
dude, Literally, that fucking guy we've been talking about all day, someone's asking about him, right? The
Like,
cops are asking
speaker.
for him.
Put it on speaker. Yeah.
You know that was like the break room talk of the day for sure.
And that's what happened. They called the right company and they said, yeah, that's absolutely somebody we picked up at the house. And so they were like, okay, can we have the number he called from? So they're basically like piecing this together. They get the cell phone he used to call the cab, and they figure out that it's this 34-year-old guy named Tommy Wright. And he had actually been arrested only days later for auto theft charges in another town. So I guess he couldn't find a ride and decided to make his own. And
this guy has some car troubles.
He's got a fixation, my friend. He's got some troubles, indeed. And so he is arrested in a different town for the auto theft charges. And this is right about when they are linking him up to his phone number. So Colorado Springs police tried to question him about being present at the Barajas house on February 13th, but he gave them nothing, which is like the first smart move this guy's done, I would argue, is say nothing at all. And without any insight from Tommy himself, they turned to a warrant and they decided to search his apartment. And that is where they discovered a .45 caliber handgun matching the weapon used to kill Mike.
Oh,
easy peasy.
Whoopsies.
So Sandra was shocked. She said that she knew Tommy's name, and even though she had never met him before, she knew about him because Dawn had actually brought him over before. It was a friend of her eldest daughter's. And so remember when he said to the brothers, "Oh, I'm a friend of the daughters." He's Dawn's friend. And so Sandra knew of him and said, "Wait, what the fuck? Why would this guy come over and kill my husband? I don't understand. He's only been to our house once. Like, what's going on? Why would Dawn even bring a guy like that to our house?" Just like totally beside herself. So once forensic analysis matched the gun discovered in Tommy's apartment to the bullets recovered from Mike's remains and confirmed that it was the same gun, they scheduled a grand jury hearing for May 17th to indict Tommy for first-degree murder. However, this hearing was postponed last minute because Tommy told the detectives he actually wanted to give them a full confession.
Oh. Lucky everybody.
Yeah. Lucky everybody. Yeah. So in exchange, he requested several things. He said, "I'll give you
I need truth. First, a ride. Second,
a ride." Oh my God. Yeah, a ride. Okay. He requested several things, including a ride and also Facebook access.
Right. Oh, really? Okay.
No, that's real. That one's real. He requested Facebook access and they said no. And so he ultimately accepted pop and cigarettes.
Wow. Steep decline on the negotiations.
He's not good at negotiating, just like me. He just caves.
It's like maybe some fucking pants since it's winter, but okay, sure.
Yeah, no. Certainly not that. Some pants. Yeah, like the bottoms of my shorts, maybe.
Yeah, please.
So basically they said, "Fine, we'll get you cigarettes and a fucking Pepsi if you tell us what happened." And he says, "All right, it's a deal." And he confesses to stealing a gun from Mike's gun cabinet, lying in wait in the bedroom until Mike got home, and then ambushing him in the dark. He also said that he answered the landline phone and spoke to one of Mike's brothers after the murder. And then when the Mike's brothers came to the crime scene, he was like, "Oh, you're Mike's brother that I talked to on the phone when I was killing him. Can I get a ride?" Like, this guy just is out of his mind. So, yes, he says, "I did answer the phone because I talked to Mike's brother when I answered, and that was after the murder, so I lied and said he was in the shower." So Chris, the brother who had called and been on the phone, was supposed to pick Mike up to go to Ash Wednesday Mass. And so he drove to Mike's house and knocked on the door, and no one answered. And he was like, "Okay, whatever." So he left so he wouldn't be late for Mass. He had no idea Tommy was inside watching him, having already murdered his brother and waiting for him to leave. Isn't that so dark?
Oh my God.
And Tommy said he did indeed kill Mike, but the break-in was staged because Tommy was already in the house that day, like hiding out. And
I'm sure everyone was like, "Yeah, we knew that.
We figured that part out. Thanks a lot."
The graffiti spray paint made no sense, so thanks.
That was me, guys. Yeah, we also figured that out.
Your genius contribution before all the actual illegal shit. Thank you.
Yes, exactly. Thank you so much for that. So Tommy said he had to stage the break-in because he was already in the house that day with Mike's family that morning.
Oh my God.
And they said, "Pardon? What do you mean?" And he said, "Well, okay, here's the thing. So the backstory of Tommy Tommy met Dawn and Angie, the sisters, by chance one day at a 7-Eleven, much like Mike had met Sandra at that gas station where she worked many years ago. So another little pattern here.
Okay.
They befriended Mike. They invited him back to their home. This was like ages ago, where the trio used drugs together. And Angie claimed during this friendship that Mike had been sexually abusing her, as in her stepfather had been sexually abusing her. Tommy said he was horrified by this, and he had actually once dated a woman whose young child had been sexually abused. And Tommy said he witnessed firsthand how much trauma it caused, so he just instantly hated Angie's stepdad and Dawn's stepdad for sexually abusing her.
And was this true? Do we know if that's true?
We shall get to it.
Okay.
We shall get. I think I will answer your question. I believe I will.
Okay.
So he hated Mike for inflicting that upon his own daughter, and the sisters repeatedly asked Tommy if he knew anyone who could take care of Mike for them. So Tommy said that on February 13th, he finally agreed to kill Mike for them in exchange for their pickup truck and $5,000 in cash.
So for a ride, literally.
For a ride! Oh my God, you're so
This guy loves to go from here to there.
This man.
He'll do anything He'll do anything for A to B. I'm telling you.
He's always in transit.
This
He's always
away
en
and
route.
that away.
You know what I'm saying? He's always en route.
I'm telling you.
Oh man, that guy. So he says, I need a ride though, and $5,000. But according to Tommy, that morning, Angie, the younger sister, was nearly unresponsive from drug use. So she actually didn't even get involved that day. She was like comatose, basically.
Weirdly, the best alibi you could have. Yeah, at that point.
Right, exactly. Instead, detectives were shocked to learn that someone else got involved, and that, my friend, is none other than Sandra.
Okay. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because I did wonder in the beginning when like people were gathering, and all of a sudden he shows up. He's like, "Can I get a ride?" I was like, "Where the hell's his wife?" And like, why aren't we learning more about her?
Well, remember, she stood there and screamed, why, and tried to break her way into the house. And
she did say that, yeah.
Yeah, and they said, we can't tell you anything. All we can say is there's one potential murder victim here or something. And she like collapsed and started screaming.
Sure.
And that was why nobody ever considered her, because she was such a good actor that they were like they were taken aback by this, I think.
So she... Okay, go for it.
So Tommy and Dawn got help making the murder plan from Sandra. Throughout the entire investigation, even as the daughter Dawn was questioned as a suspect, Sandra was never once considered even a person of interest.
She's like not just even shooting the breeze over there.
She's drinking her iced tea on the front fucking porch. And they had never even thought of her as having any intel about how he was killed. And so the police on scene really saw Sandra's reaction, and it seemed so genuine to them that they took it at face value.
Mm-hmm.
And the obituary published just days later talked about their marriage and Mike's devotion to Sandra, and it was just difficult to imagine that she was so convincingly mourning Mike among his family and friends after having like orchestrated the whole thing.
Right.
But Tommy insisted that she helped hatch the scheme to stage a break-in. He said that they made the plan together, and then the women went to the hospital as an alibi. And as soon as they left, Tommy began staging the scene, spray painting the walls. And the women were supposed to pick Tommy up after he killed Mike. But when Chris called and Tommy answered, assuming it was Sandra calling to say, like, we're on the way to pick you up, it was Chris.
So he's
like, he's in the shower.
He fucked up their story.
Fucked up the plan. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And so he panicked after that and he ran instead of waiting for the ride. So he panics. He runs out of the house because he's like, his brother knows someone's here. This is, he just panics. He hides nearby for a while. And then he returns shortly later to the origin of our story, where he is trying to find a ride home at the crime scene.
Oh, so that's why he was just standing there?
Hid for like hours and then came back and said, "Can someone drive me home?"
He couldn't like go next door and like
literally couldn't walk half a mile away and pretend to bum a ride from someone else.
He couldn't like call a cab somewhere else or like hail a bus or something.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? So
What
was
are you
he on? Do we
doing?
know he was on drugs during this? Because this sounds.
I do not know. I do not think that I know that. I do not know. I do not know.
Okay. Yeah. That's wild.
Or if
though.
I do, we'll find out together because I forget.
Okay.
But, yeah, but as far as I know, as far as I recall, they don't really get into that. I can only assume if one of them, if they all three are active drug users and hatched a plan on drugs to kill this person, and one of them is like unconscious in the hospital due to drug use. I can only guess that maybe he could be on something, but I don't know. There's no hard evidence for that as far as I know. So because this is just how this always goes, he's explaining the story to the police and they're like, you know what? It adds up. Like, even though like we had never looked at Sandra as a possible suspect, the way he's explaining this, it does align down to the phone call and everything. But they needed more than just his word against Sandra's. So what they did was they had Tommy call Sandra secretly with the police, pretending he wasn't with the police. And he led her to admit on the phone that she owed him money for killing Mike at her request. And she said, all right, I'll bring you $500. Meet me at Walmart.
Okay.
And that is how the police knew for sure he was not lying, and Sandra had been involved in having her husband killed.
Gotcha.
So they all took a little road trip to Walmart, and they arrested her on the spot. And they had the recording of her basically saying, I'll give you $500 since you killed him. And that was pretty much all the jury needed, you know? It was pretty obvious. Her trial began February 4th, 2014. And, you know, her defense team, of course, tried to paint her as a victim of Dawn, her own daughter, who was allegedly like this dangerous sociopathic manipulator. And Sandra was terrified of her own daughter. But the prosecution then played that phone call in which Sandra was like, yeah, I'll give you $500 for killing him. And people were
Whoopsies.
Like, nice try.
Which, like, was she going to let her, like, kids go down for this? And she was just going to...
I don't know that she even realized that they would be on the hook. Like, I think these people just didn't even have enough foresight to realize, like...
But, like, if 4 people are involved,
you know what?
I imagine one of them will crack.
I wouldn't be surprised if she at least let Dawn take the fall, because it sounds like the way people describe their relationship is that, like...
Right.
Dawn kind of ran the ship. So I don't know. I don't know if that's true. But I honestly believe, I mean, who knows? Maybe Dawn would have said, nope, my mom was involved and I have proof. You know, maybe they could frame each other. Who knows? But
sure.
Yeah. So she goes to trial and, you know, they try to say she's a victim. But they play the phone call, and then testimony on behalf of Mike also tore apart the claim that he was abusing anybody, including especially his own daughters. So that seemed to have been just a total fabrication. The sexual abuse seemed to be a total fabrication. So instead, the prosecution presented evidence and witness testimony that Sandra had actually destroyed her family's finances through years of gambling.
Ooh.
And that's where all this pressure was. That's why she even was involved in the first place.
So in a way, she's the family annihilator when it's usually men.
Well, family annihilator means that you kill the kids too, like all the kids and the...
I thought it was like when... Well... Okay, I got it wrong. Sorry.
Yeah, no. I mean, it's yeah, I'm trying to think back, but it's usually when you basically massacre your own family because you think it's better than them living like in whatever state of financial distress or despair, or, you know, usually finances. But
I think because of that, that's why I thought like,
yeah, it makes sense.
If he finds out about the finances, then I'm done. So might as well get him out of here.
Well, actually, it wasn't even that. It was just for life insurance to pay it off, you know?
Man.
Yeah.
That's rough.
Yeah. So Mike told his brother. So, I mean, Mike knew about all the gambling. Sorry to clarify. Mike knew about all this because Mike's brothers knew about all this. So Mike told his brothers that their house was in foreclosure. Apparently, they had already filed for bankruptcy. And if Mike were killed, Sandra and their daughters would receive life insurance, as well as retirement payments and other financial support from his job. And in Mike's obituary, the family also requested monetary donations instead of flowers. Wow, isn't that bold?
Dang.
The prosecution argued that Sandra and Dawn wanted to kill Mike to fund their gambling and drug use. So two things
bada
there.
Bada bang and
bada
boom.
Bada boom. Sandra was found guilty of first-degree murder, a conviction which carried a sentence of life in prison without parole in Colorado. And so Dawn saw that happen and decided not to risk the same sentence, so she pled guilty to second-degree murder and was sentenced to 45 years in prison. Tommy also pled guilty to second-degree murder and received a 40-year sentence. The Barajas neighbors were totally shocked by the plot, but admitted that they were relieved that it wasn't just like a random burglar running around town, and that it wasn't somebody still on the loose. Yeah, I get it too. That would be your instinct, right? To be like, if our next door neighbor
got murdered, I'd go, oh fuck, like I'm in big trouble. And then if I found out it was like a family thing, I'd go, okay,
not my problem. At least I'm not part of it, right?
Yeah.
Mike's family was glad that justice was served against Sandra, Dawn, and Tommy, but of course, that's only so much that you can do to make up for something like this. One person wrote about, when they were talking about just remembrances on Mike's obituary website, there are like these memorial entries, and people like to leave kind of anecdotes. And one person wrote about a winter day when they were scraping the ice off their car, and Mike appeared and told them to get in the car and stay warm. And then he scraped the whole car off for them and said, have a good day at work, and just let them go. And that was the kind of guy he was. He was an actual pillar of the community. So you're either murdered or a murderer, I guess. That's the only option.
He finally breaks the glass ceiling on that, I guess.
Yeah, good for him. He breaks the mold, the pillar mold.
Yeah.
Maybe this pillar has just some nice curly cues on the top. You know, it's just a little fancier than the others. I don't know. But yeah, so that's how Mike will be remembered. Just a really kind, actually nice, gentle guy who
got mixed up in a weird family.
Up in the wrong family. And, it's just too bad. So that's that story.
Oy. That's a rough one.
Now it's time to discuss all our deepest, darkest secrets on the Yappy Hour.
That's right.
I'm going to open this bad boy.
Well, yeah, I guess. And this is the last one before Christmas? The last...
I believe so. Yes.
Well, happy Christmas Eve episode to everybody. And Christine is using her teeth.
No.
It always gets me going. In the worst way.
I'm so sorry. That really isn't unpleasant. I'm so sorry. I know that auditorially that was really bad for everybody. If you want to find us, go to andthat'swhyyouDrink.com. If you want tickets to our live show, andthat'swhyyouDrink.com/live, you can find our book anywhere fine books are sold. You can join us on Patreon, patreon.com/ATWWD podcast, which is also our handle for all our social media. And we're excited to see you out there in the world.
And
that's
why
we
drink.